City Clerk, we're ready when you are. Yeah, we're ready.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Welcome to the special City Council meeting of June 3rd, 2024. The time is 6:08. I am going to do a roll call. Councilmember Vera,
Present.
Councilmember Puza,
Present.
Councilmember Erickson,
Present.
Vice Mayor O'Brien,
Present.
Mayor McMorrin.
Here.
All members are here.
All right. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any community announcements by members? Councilmember Vera.
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Councilmember, excuse me, Erickson.
Nothing.
Councilmember Pusa.
No, Mayor, thanks.
Vice Mayor O'Brien.
No, Mayor.
Nothing from me. Are there any updates from commissions, boards, or committees, or any information from staff? No? Wonderful. Moving right along to joint public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have any joint public comments? City Clerk?
We'll have to come back to that.
Oh, we're going to come back. Okay.
We
Mixing
only
it
have
up.
the list of the speakers who requested for the action item.
Okay. So we will, well, it's here again at the end, so we will get it again. All right. Can we have a receipt and filing or a motion? I think we had like 2 comments. Vice Mayor just stepped in the back, but here it comes.
Okay, we have a motion to receive and file by Councilmember Erickson, a second by Councilmember Vera. Please vote. All members have voted. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, City Clerk. We just have one agenda item today, A1, which is our interview of applicants and consideration of appointments to various commissions, boards, and committees. So I will defer to you, City Clerk, in terms of how we're going to roll out, and we'll make sure that folks are able to ask questions. Sound good?
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And just my tablet is I don't know, it might be acting a little weird, in case someone can help me. If not, I do have my laptop, so it's all good.
Okay, I will go up there and check you in just one moment. So, welcome to the interviews for the commissions, boards, and committees. We do this annually. Every year, someone seems to be up for either reappointment or has termed out and will be, the seat will be vacant and will be making new appointments. So tonight, we want to start with the commissions, and we are going to ask each one of the people that we call to, I'm going to find it for you, answer one of these questions, and I'll be putting it up on the board. So for first-time applicants, what do you understand the position to entail, and what do you hope to accomplish as a commissioner, board, or committee member? And for those seeking reappointment, what have you accomplished during your term, and what do you hope to accomplish for the upcoming term? So I'm going to post this up, and we are going to start in this order. Civil Service Commission applicants, then Cultural Affairs applicants, then Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission applicants, and then the Planning Commission applicants. Please also note that if you are here for more than one position, which is designated on the attachment, we know what you've also applied for, and if you can, in one 3-minute period, explain what you're most interested in and why. Also, after your 3-minute time period, which will appear up on the screen, we will see if the council members have questions for you or not. If not, we will thank you and we will move on to the next person. So we're hoping to do this in just a few hours. So bear with us. Those of you who know me know that was a joke. Okay, so we are going to start with, what is going on here? Any interview questions? For the Civil Service Commission, if you wouldn't mind getting ready. First we have Hilton Creve, followed by Yunnak Low, then Chi Mingon, Amberly Washington, and then Danny Zandel. So we'll start with Mr. Creve, and we're going to give you, oops, 3 minutes.
Ring. Honorable Mayor McMorrin, Vice Mayor O'Brien, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm a 38-year resident of Fox Hills area and currently the president of the HOA where I reside. I'm a past president of the Culver City Democratic Club and a retired director of systems engineering in the television broadcast industry. Last year, I completed the Leadership Culver City Seminar Series, which offered a great opportunity to meet many city staff and management personnel. And among all the various committees, boards, and commissions established in Culver City, the Civil Service Commission is the body most directly involved in helping the city attract these qualified individuals for open positions and in celebrating those outstanding employees that deserve recognition for their efforts. Now, to answer the question, the Commission's role is to celebrate those employees who have been commended for outstanding service, and this is indeed where the Commission spends a lot of its time. Advising managerial staff on the wording of job descriptions to fill open positions. They hear and act on employee grievances that rise past managerial levels. And while investigating these grievances, they can subpoena and examine witnesses under oath. If deemed necessary, they assign a third-party hearing officer to conduct the examinations, and they act based on the officer's recommendation. They also undertake the occasional salary review, and they recommend civil service changes to the council. It is my goal to act on and improve all of these goals of the commission if I'm selected, and I believe I'm well suited to support these roles. I have experience managing people and being managed. I understand the dynamics of operating by the rules, and I also recognize that exceptional circumstances may occasionally result in violation of rules. As an officer in my HOA, I am continually involved in working with a group of 5 people to make decisions. And although not formally trained, I have participated in internal dispute resolution sessions and alternative dispute resolution involving mediators. And as a company director during my career, I both wrote job descriptions and conducted competitive salary reviews. Thank you for your time and for your consideration. And I'll take questions.
Are there any questions from colleagues? Mr. Creve? Councilmember Vera?
Sir, thank you very much for coming out. You applied for something, this commission
I did
previously?
apply for this commission last year. This is my second time applying.
All right, and I see here you've been to, what, meetings virtually for the last 18 months?
Correct.
You have a good working knowledge or understanding of what would be expected of you, and time-wise, you have no issues with that, right?
No, I'm 5 years retired, and I have plenty of time to vote to commission should I be selected.
All right, thank you, sir. That's it
Okay.
for me, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Creve? Thank you so much for
Okay.
your application. Yeah, I don't know, it just,
So weird.
it's okay. Do we know? I'll go to the list. Let's see. Is this person here?
Yes, we'll be calling everyone.
Okay.
I'm just going to try and get you back on.
Don't worry about it.
You sure?
It's fine, it's fine.
So while we gave everyone name cards, we didn't have a chance to see who didn't pick up their name card. So I'm going to call everyone's name, and I'm going to wait maybe 10 seconds. If they're not here, we're going to move on. So, Yunyuk Lo. Okay. Next is Chi Min Gong.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Chi Min Gong. I've served on your Civil Service Commission since 2021, the last year being serving as its chair. Of the many things that we've accomplished that I'm proud of, one of them is an exhaustive and at times exhausting review of the civil service rules that govern the behavior and oversight of all employees here in the city of Los Angeles. We've met for hours at a time, monthly, for the last at least 2 or 3 years, going through the rules. I believe we've actually gone through a couple of them and presented them before your council for examination and approval. I think some of those changes are long overdue. One of the most important things I think that we provide to the city is a streamline of some of the processes that our own HR department go through in not just hiring, but retaining top staff for the city of city of Culver City. I'm sorry, I'm 26 years retired from the city of Los Angeles. Pardon my slip.
We knew what you meant. We knew what you meant.
Thank you. I do think that continuing my service to the city on the Civil Service Commission is the best use of my background in the civil service, having borrowed some of the things I've seen on the City of LA side and hoping to use that on the City of Culver City side. One of the other things I think I'm most proud of my service to the city is being able to take the list of vacant positions that the city is monitoring and reduce that list. And I'm glad to see that that list is slowly dwindling down, with the unfortunate side effect that we seem to have quite a long list of relatively active employees on probation, which is kind of a good thing and a bad thing. I'd rather see all of them come off of probation and actually be formally on the civil service, but I'm glad to see that that list is as long as it is. That means that our HR department is doing something good to bring in people. Additionally, I'm also an adjunct instructor for the Los Angeles Community College District, and in my role there, I'm able to facilitate a connection between our HR people and my own department there at the LACCD in order to bring some of those graduates on board here at the city. So I'm pleased to be able to make that connection. And I yield the remainder of my time to the commission, or to the council, and will answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mingjong. Appreciate your comments. I'll go to colleagues if there are any questions. Councilmember Erickson.
Just to clarify, so you are currently on the Civil Service Commission,
I'm currently its chair, yes,
and you served for how many years?
3 years.
3 years. Thank you.
You're good. Any other questions from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Mingjong, for your service and for your reapplication to the position. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Amberly Washington. And Amberly has applied for the Civil Service Commission, the MLK, the Cultural Affairs Commission, the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board, the Advisory Committee on Housing and Homelessness, the Planning Commission, the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, and the Civil Service Commission.
Thank you for your time today. So as you heard, I applied for several roles with Cultural Affairs and the MLK Juneteenth Committee being my top choices. By applying my 20 years of experience in commercial real estate, events entrepreneurship, and nonprofit board work, my top goal is to enhance community life in Culver City. And I would like to do that by bringing more awareness to arts and cultural topics like Juneteenth, which originated in my home state of Texas, bringing more innovative programming to the MLK Day, and then strengthening and building the city's strategic partnerships with more diverse community organizations. As I understand it, the roles would entail advising and making recommendations to the city council and other committee city leaders, collaborating with various stakeholders like community organizations, local businesses, and residents, advocating for necessary resources, policies, and program improvements, and then lastly, finding the balance between the aforementioned recommendations and available resources. So that is my time, but appreciate you having me here and looking forward to potentially serving the city.
Thank you so much, Ms. Washington, for your time. Do we have any comments or questions from colleagues? Councilmember Vera.
Thank you, Ms. Washington, for your application. I just wanted to confirm that your first choice would be the MLK or
Cultural Affairs.
Cultural Affairs?
By MLK, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments from colleagues? Questions? No, she's fat, but she anticipated no further questions. So thank you for your application and being here this evening. We're ready for the next individual.
This is Danny Zandel, and she has applied for the Civil Service Commission and the Finance Advisory Committee. And you can let us know which one is your preference.
Sure. My preference would be the Financial Advisory Committee, and the Civil Service obviously would be my secondary. Honorable Mayor, City Council people, it's good to be back up here again towards the Financial Advisory Committee. And I would like to say that Mr. Mingjong, I think that's a dynamic relationship that he's brought to the table. Both committees have people who are in place who are doing amazing jobs, and quite honestly, as much as I'd love the opportunity to take this, I can't deny that it's very big shoes that I would have to fill. My interest being in the Finance Committee because I'm an analyzer. Numbers are a big thing, and numbers are a big thing when it comes to the budget of the city. I've had concerns, I've stated my concerns about the transparency of what's been, and I'd like to be a part of both the voice and the opportunity to see what's going on in our city's dollars. With regards to the Civil Service Commission, I'd love the opportunity to prop up our employees, but also to have that ability to make the changes that would make it more desirable for people to want to come and work here. And I realize that it's not a human resources department, but I do have a human resources background. The expectation with regards to the Financial Advisory Committee would be to be looking at the various revenues, expenses, things that make the city tick by way of money, and follow that money. My expectations and idea of what the Civil Service Commission does is, again, not necessarily as HR, but to see what it is that is going on in terms of our employees, whether it be reviewing the appeals to make sure that things are being handled fairly, to potentially be putting together job descriptions or pay plans. As Mr. Mingong said, they've already gone through to create the processes and streamline them. So it would just be a way to be a part of carrying that forward. I'm a lifelong resident who would just love to have the opportunity to participate in this community. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Sandel, for your application and the opening statement. Does any colleagues have any questions? Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, yes, you mentioned that you have HR experience. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I am an entrepreneur. I've worked with car dealerships, in car dealerships, and as a consultant to them. I've worked with electrician. I've worked in different offices where I've been responsible for the hiring, the benefits, the unfortunate sides of discipline, things that have to do with funny things people do, because that's what HR is, funny things people do, and the way that they all come together and play or not play well. Hiring, unfortunately, I want to say probation, but upholding the policies of the company in a way that would hopefully be fair to everybody who's involved.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Ms. Sandel? I actually have one. You mentioned in your statement, and again, appreciation for your application, you have concerns about the budget. What's like a top concern for you as it pertains to the budget?
Very specifically, I was concerned with how quickly the council moved to make a significant purchase that seemed out of line with regards to the city's budget and where the money was coming from without a whole lot of information. The bottom line is that obviously I wasn't part of those talks to know what we had or what we didn't have. However, it felt like there wasn't enough transparency to the community before the purchase was made. And to answer your question as to what specific topic, that would be it. Purchase of property at a significant cost that seemed to be in excess of the property value is kind of a big thing to the city and to all of our tax dollars. Where's it coming from? How's it being spent? Why is it being spent? And why is it being done without the community's input and feedback? That's what was important to me.
Thank you for answering. Do we have any additional questions? Not hearing any. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And for your application.
And that was the last of the Civil Service Commission applicants. Next, we are going to move on to the Cultural Affairs Commission. There is one position available, and here is the list of upcoming applicants. Andrew Lockman, Melissa Sanders, Madison Wellington, Damon Willick, and Paul Kujawski. We will call you in that order. First, we will have Andrew Lockman, and he is also applying for the Cultural Affairs Commission, for the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, and he is also a current FAC, Finance Advisory Committee member.
Thank you. Good to see everyone here. I do have 2 years left on my term with FAC. I mistakenly originally thought I was at my end, not of my wits. That's a different situation. In order to just sort of, let me just put it this way. When I first got involved and got on the Finance Advisory Committee, the Arts Commission, the Cultural Affairs Commission was the one that interested me. So if there's an opening 2 years from now, that's great. It's more about just expressing an interest of, depending on what happens with a number of other things going on, expressing an interest of continue to be involved in my community. As you know, I used to be the consultant for the Joint Committee on the Arts for the state legislature. Our hearings were here in Culver City on the creative economy. I did work to try to bring in the tech community and involve them more and create a community with them to get them more involved as a group, and continue to have a great interest in that area in terms of a next step, when my time with FAC is done. We've been very proud of the work that we've done with FAC. I could not be more proud of the commissioners who serve with me now. I know many of them are up for reappointment. They've been great members of the team and have contributed in wonderful ways. And, for whatever it's worth to speak on their behalf, I just want to vouch for the great group that we have together, including the 2 new members who have jumped right in. Originally, I'd expressed also interest in the Parks and Recreation Commission. I understand they're pretty much done with their parks plan. So that is my second choice if I get appointed at all to any of this. But it was just more about sort of expressing an interest and getting back to, when the opportunity comes up, being able to serve on cultural affairs when and where the commission, the council has decided that my time on FAC is up.
Thank you, Mr. Lockman, for your application and your words. I want to defer to colleagues for any comments or questions at this time. Not, oh, okay, Councilmember Erickson.
So, Mr. Lackman, so I understood you correctly, is that you would prefer to stay on the FAC for the next 2 years and then probably move on to some other commission in our city? Or do you want us to consider you for a cultural affairs or park and recs and then remove you from the FAC today? Or not
Removal
today?
is such a harsh term.
Well, we have a lot of names, right? We need to figure this out, right?
Look, yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I don't know if what positions are up. If there's nothing that's going to be up in 2 years, then yes, this would be a good time for me to be considered for cultural affairs. I recognize this, what happened a number of years ago before I realized that I had longer term than I thought I did, sometimes it's about just making sure people remember you're interested. I'm happy where I'm serving. We've got a great team. But if next year, in 2 years, the person who's up for, and there's not going to be that many, is going to be a reappointment, then I think it would make sense at this point to make the move now.
Yeah, you should probably look at Councilmember Pusa and Councilmember Bryan, because I'm not going to be here 2 years from now.
Understood.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I've heard a lot of good things about the FIC, so I'm glad to hear that you have an interest in staying there.
Well, we've had a couple good people on it in the past, I'm just saying. Thank you.
And City Clerk, do you know, I just went to the page as it pertains to cultural affairs, average term or term length 4 years, term limit 2 terms, 5 members. Do you know if we will have a vacancy or if it's,
In
I know
2
we don't.
years?
Yeah,
I'd have to look it up. I don't
have
know
to look and see.
offhand.
okay. So we'll find out.
I'm
have
actually
time,
having
but
someone
I'll
look it
look.
up.
For sure, for sure.
Okay.
I
And we will have
figured
time
it might be
because-
worthwhile to have it.
I will let you know, and as the appointments are on June 10th, we'll have that information in your hands before that time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lockman. Appreciate your application and your words.
Next speaker is Melissa Sanders. Oh, is she online? Nope. Okay. So she is not here, and thank you. Next speaker is Madison Wellington. Madison Wellington. Next, I'll call, Damon Willick.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the City Council. My name is Damon Willick. I'm professor of art history at Loyola Marymount University. I've taught at LMU for over 20 years. I've never met Freddie Puza, so it's very nice to meet you here tonight. I'm applying for the position of Cultural Affairs Commissioner because I believe I can offer my experience and my excitement and my expertise in art history as well as the LA cultural arts community. I understand the commission's charge to be to advocate for the arts as well as to advise the city council, as well as to help implement programs. Not only to bring up programs, but also to think of new programs and ways to reach the community, furthering the integration of the arts within Culver City. My expertise is in Southern California art history. I've written a book about the San Fernando Valley, where I grew up, and I've been a 20-year resident of Culver City. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Relic. Are there comments? Councilmember Vera.
When are you going to write a book about Culver City?
Hopefully soon.
Okay.
Hopefully soon. That is most definitely a history that's being written right now.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
It was great meeting you earlier, Damon. I know in speaking with current commissioners that there's a desire to basically expand opportunities for performing arts. There's been kind of a heavy focus in fine arts, really, arts on a wall or on a canvas. Do you have any, I'm putting you on the spot, this is the first tough question I think we've had tonight. Do you have any thoughts on how to improve in that area?
Well, sure. I personally see the arts as being an integrative field, and so when I think of fine arts, I think of performing arts, I think of theater arts. So I usually don't make those distinctions, and in fact, to me, the best visual artists are those artists that sort of break those boundaries. So the opportunity to maybe meld or to bring together a lot of these disciplines would be something that I hope that I could bring to the commission. I know that the city has great programs in terms of the summer concert series, which I would hope that the Cultural Affairs Committee could be a part of. But I also see opportunities to make connections to, let's say, like the UCLA graduate art studios, which are here in Culver City, and I know that a lot of those artists integrate performing arts into their visual arts practices. So to answer your question, I would hope that there would be the opportunity to bring together all of the art forms.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions, Mr. Wellick? Thank you so much for your application and your time this evening.
The last speaker for Cultural Affairs is Paul Kujawski.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, council members. Please excuse my mask. Members of my family are immunocompromised, and COVID cases are on the rise. I grew up not far from here in Mar Vista and went to Venice High School. I went into exile into the San Fernando Valley for a number of years, but I'm glad to be back in my indigenous homeland. In the Valley, I served on my local neighborhood council. I want to bring to my new local community that service of the community. I applied for the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board because as a litigation attorney, I think I have some knowledge and skills that would be useful on that board. And I'd like to, since I noticed that no one applied for the tenant position, I am renting, to switch from at-large to that tenant position, if I may. Should that be unavailable, be happy to serve on cultural affairs. I have a music background and would like to, and so I've produced concerts at my synagogue and would be happy to contribute to the community in that respect as well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Kujawski? Can you pronounce your last name for me one more time?
Kujawski.
Kujawski. Apologies. I'm going to make sure I get the names right.
It's
At least
phonetic
try.
in Polish.
Fair enough. Any questions? Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, so to clarify, your priority is the landlord-tenant mediation board, and the cultural affairs is your second choice.
I think cultural affairs is more fun, but I think I'm probably better suited for landlord-tenant.
Okay. And you are renting, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Because you actually noticed that there was a tenant opening on
Yes.
the board and no one applied. So that's an interesting piece of information. Thank you.
Any other questions? A quick one for me. Are you still practicing attorney?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out this evening.
All right. We're going to move on to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. We have a number of people ready to go, one of which I see already knows her order, and that is Marcy Bond. She will be followed by Alexander Brody, John Busby, Dorian Davies, Hector Flores, Aviv Muraro, Jordan Moses. And I will add you in right now. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Marcy Bond. You might know me as the pool lady. I have been a resident of Culver City since 1999, so I've been here a few years, and in that entire time, I have taken advantage of using our wonderful parks here, in particular, of course, the plunge. The reason I am applying for the Parks and Recs Commission is because I would really like to be able to give back all of the wonderful things that I've actually been able to get from this community for so long. I owned a publishing house for 16 years. During that time, the publishing house published over 500 books. I had a stable of 150 authors. I had 8 editors and numerous proofreaders and copy editors under me because I was the business owner. So I was also a small business owner, and I took care of all of my books. So I'm very familiar of working with people. I have worked in both a capacity as a manager, and I have worked as a capacity as just a worker bee. So I know what it's like what it takes to be able to work with other people. As I said, I have used the Parks and Recs extensively, ours a lot. When my child was young, we had her in the ballet classes, and if the Parks and Recs had not had those ballet classes at that time, we wouldn't have been able to afford to take her somewhere else because we just didn't have the money. So I know how important these types of classes to make it accessible to the entire community is. This enrichment is so important for the community in so many ways. I also know that I believe that our position is to be advisory to both the city council as well as the city manager when it comes to the parks, the buildings, the open spaces, even music and arts, if that is happening within the parks. I think that I am well suited for that. My background, actually, I have a master's degree in music. I am currently taking art classes at West LA College, both painting and life drawing. And I also am an author and an editor, as well as a scientific editor. So I think I have a pretty good background with arts as well, and I love physical activity. I've done it my entire life. All of that I find to be very important, and I think it enriches our lives in many ways. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bond. Are there any questions from colleagues at this time? Vice Mayor.
So outside of the plunge, is there something in our parks that you see an opportunity to improve?
So I do. When I look at the parks, I have to say that when I go by Vets Park or the other parks and I see them in use, it excites me because I see people finding their passion in the physical activity, whatever will help them. What I think that we do need to improve is to ensure that we're going to the individual communities and seeing what are the needs of the communities for that park so that we can make sure that park is serving those individual communities properly, but also that we keep them updated. So one of the big things about Bill Bott's was all of the holes that make it dangerous for the kids to play there. The last time I was at Sid Conenthal, it seemed like there were some things that could use to be updated. I'm not as familiar with that park, but that would be something to go to the community like the Parks and Rec Commission has been doing and spending time. And that's something that I could see. Yes, I would love to see more with the plunge, and I think our tennis courts might need some updating, maybe new paint, not necessarily at the Vets, but there's also, there's tennis courts at Culver West. So I think there are ways to improve, but I think there's also a lot of really good happening at our parks, and I'd like to continue to see that happen.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Bond, for your time and your application.
Our next speaker is Alexander Brody. And as he's approaching, I will let the council know he applied for the FAC as well as the Parks, Rec, and Community Services Commission.
Yeah, that's correct. I'd also like to take this opportunity because I saw the vacancy for the tenant position on the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board to put my name in the hat there, as I believe I would qualify. So my first choice is the Parks and Recreation Committee. I believe it is the position of the committee members to work with the council members as well as the staff to be an advisory committee as well as promote and implement programs. I believe the committee should, the initiatives that the committee members should focus on would be increasing community engagement and improving accessibility for the community in the parks. And I believe I have a deep passion for the parks and would love to be a part of helping those initiatives. As for the Financial Advisory Committee, I have 15 years of experience in both strategic and financial roles for a lot of corporations. I spent 5 years working as a financial advisory strategy member for Cushman & Wakefield, helping large organizations understand their real estate footprints and running finances for them. So I believe I have the qualifications to be an asset for that committee as well. So, yeah, take questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brody. Councilmember Vera.
Mr. Brody, I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but your primary, or your first choice would be the Finance Advisory Committee?
Sorry, the Parks and Recreation Committee
Parks
would
and
be my
Rec?
first
Okay.
choice.
All right, thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor.
Thanks for that. And if I recall, you applied for some things last year as well, did you?
Yeah, I applied for the Financial Advisory Committee back in January for the that position that was open. I think there was an immediate vacancy.
Right.
But yeah, I'm here to reapply again.
Okay, I just want to confirm. Thank you.
Councilmember Fosa.
Thank you for the application. You said you'd like to implement programs. Is there a current program that you'd like to champion or one that you'd like to, propose?
I don't have specific current programs, but I believe the Parks Department should definitely start implementing programs to build community engagement and get the parks used as frequently as possible. Some of those thoughts would be, though, improving our reservation system for the park so people can, reserve tables or the spaces as needed.
Mr. Brody, I have a quick one. You added on, and we love a little spontaneity and flexibility, so that's fine. Do you want to speak a little bit more? I don't know if you had time to kind of look through that body and what it does or what your experience has been to kind of support your sort of ad hoc on, application. Since we're throwing things out, which is absolutely fine.
You're talking about the landlord-tenant
Yes.
position?
Mhm.
Yeah, certainly. I, have been a long-term tenant at Culver City and would certainly be.
How long?
3 years now.
3 years.
So maybe not that long.
That's how you know you're young, because 3 years. Okay, that's fine.
And would love to contribute that experience to the committee. I haven't had a chance to review the specific requirements as part of that committee, but sure I could learn.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And that wasn't a dig on being young. There's nothing wrong with young. We need young people in leadership, so it's all good. Any last minute questions for Mr. Brody? Okay. Thank you for your time and your application. Again, thank you for continuing to show up.
Okay. Next, we have John Busby. John Busby, do you see him online? No, we do not see him. Next speaker would be Dorian Davies. Dorian Davies. Okay, we do not see Dorian Davies. Next speaker would be Hector Flores. Hector Flores. Speaker is Aviv Mararo. Aviv Mararo. Next speaker is Jordan Moses. Jordan Moses, going once. Okay. And that is the last of our applicants for the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. We are on to the Planning Commission. And we have on our list Nancy Barba, Jackson Brissett, Andrew Flores, Kinkin G, Beth Hyatt, Dennis Park, Alexander Van Galen. So we'll start with Nancy Barba.
Good evening, Council. I've had the pleasure of serving on the Planning Commission for the last almost 4 years, 4 years in July. Over that time, accomplishments is we sat and had some joint discussions with Council, 2 of them, to discuss the housing element update and one that also informed the land use element update. I sat and provided feedback and recommendations on site plan reviews, tentative parcel maps, environmental impact reports for a long list of projects, including the Apple Campus expansion, the 11111 Jefferson project, which is not currently happening, but hopefully we'll start soon. It's a mixed-use project. 8631 Hayden, 3800 Sepulveda, 9525 Jefferson, another mixed-use project that included a good bit of affordability and was plus another project that was both in the city of LA and the city of Culver City. I sat on and made recommendations in 2 Board of Zoning adjustment meetings, one that allowed a community, I would say a great community thing by kind of making zoning code adjustments for a futsal development that they were trying to do. Also one that was seeking some kind of adjustment in order for their non-standard shaped lot to build an ADU. Lots of zoning code amendments. I could not count them all because there's been many. Also, a lot of made recommendations for mixed-use residential streamlining, parking code, zoning code amendment, and I believe if I counted correctly, though, I think I've missed one single planning commission meeting in all my years serving that commission, so I take that role very seriously. And also, when thinking about the housing element update, I really try to take the guidance of the affirmatively furthering fair housing to heart and really provide the most housing opportunities in our high opportunity neighborhoods, and really provide greater investment in neighborhoods and preventing displacement. And that is a little bit about what I've accomplished in my time.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara, for your application and your service. Are there questions from colleagues? Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a question. What is your take on our current zoning and how do you see potential changes in the future?
Our current land use element or zoning code?
Zoning code.
I mean, I think it depends on what we're talking about. I think there's been several zoning code amendments done, some to make it easier to build ADUs, some to streamline, also some that put in place the new zoning code map. So what do I see for the future? I think the recommendations for now are pretty near final. That will be part of the general plan. So I don't suspect there will be any immediate future significant updates to it, since those decisions have been just recently made.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Barbara? Okay. Thank you so much for your service and for your time.
Next speaker is Jackson Brissett. And Jackson is a current landlord-tenant mediation board member.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and Vice Mayor, council members, my name is Jackson Brissett, and I'm a 6-year resident of Culver City. I'm applying for the Planning Commission, and my understanding of the role is that it is appointed by City Council to approve and opine on issues related to zoning and development. I really would love to be a part of the adoption of the new general plan and zoning code in order to be a part of the next chapter of Culver City, and I hope to use my development experience to add expertise in mixed-use development to the Planning Commission. Recently, I started my own firm called Jofa Capital. We're a small business in Culver City focused on urban mixed-use small community developments and increasing the housing stock in multifamily in California. My prior role was as chief investment officer of a Hollywood soundstage and office firm. We did about 1,000 units and 1.5 million square feet of entitlements in LA. I was also the vice president of the Hollywood Media District Business Improvement District, and a board member of the Hollywood Partnership and Chamber of Commerce. I was focused on homelessness, arts, planning development, working closely with key stakeholders and city council members. Lastly, at my prior firm before that, I was responsible for acquiring and hiring the entitlement team on 11111 Jefferson. I left that firm in 2018, so don't hold it against me for it not being built yet. I've met several times with Culver staff members on various projects, and I'm well-versed in what the city looks for in urban mixed-use development, deep understanding of LA zoning code as well as Culver City, and a passion for high-quality design. Additionally, I'd applied for Planning Commission last year, and although I was not selected, I was able to join the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board, and have thoroughly enjoyed that experience interacting with stakeholders. I believe strongly that my passion for urban city planning and development experience, as well as my deep appreciation and love for the city and our arts and culture, would make me an excellent planning commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brissett. Are there any questions? Councilmember Vera.
Mr. Brissett, thank you so much for your application. Just to confirm, so this is your first year on the committee, and then you want to, okay, so you have another 3 years left on this term?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You go first.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a question. In your new function with your new firm, your new job, do you foresee that you will have projects within Culver City proper?
I'd love to. I've been trying to do stuff in Culver since 2018 when I bought the Jefferson project. At my old firm in Hollywood, we didn't get anything done. We had a property tied up in the Arts District that ultimately had environmental concerns that we didn't move forward on. I would say there's definitely a chance, and I would respect that distinction and, not opine on that project, of course.
Yeah, we had a planning commissioner, I don't know, 6 years ago that actually had to resign from the planning commission because he got a couple of projects in our city, right? So that's why I'm asking where you see that, where you're heading.
I do actively look at acquiring properties in Culver City, so.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thanks for your application. You mentioned an affordable housing project in Hollywood. Do you know who the developer was of that?
I mentioned that in my speech.
I thought you mentioned that. Maybe I misheard you.
We entitled residential units in Hollywood, but not affordable housing.
Not affordable. Okay, all right. My mistake. All right, thank you.
Not seeing any more questions, Mr. Brissett. Thank you for your application and your time and your service on the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Andrew Flores.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you as I apply to the Planning Commission. My background is in urban planning. I have a graduate degree and near 2 decades of experience as a planning practitioner. It's something that the multidisciplinary aspect of it has always drawn me to it and made me very passionate. I've definitely had the opportunity to, as odd as it sounds, at 20 years in, mid-career, be reinvigorated as a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and then also contributing to the American Planning Association state chapter, and then also serve as a treasurer for a national division. One of the things that I continue to find so passionate about planning is definitely community engagement aspect. Right now, I work for LA County as a planner, and I work at the counter Monday through Thursday from 7 to 11, and kind of explaining the zoning code, the general plan, the development potential to residents that come in that are looking mostly to do ADUs, but some have other projects as kind of a mid-career definitely brought joy to my day. One of the things, as Councilmember Erickson asked about the zoning code, I definitely think there is a challenge there in when planners write, whether they be consultants or staff. And more often than not, they're writing for each other, they're writing for developers, and there is something lost that someone with experience can translate, but that language should be readily accessible to residents and to anyone kind of interested. So I've definitely taken a new joy in being able to explain, connect, and kind of develop a mentor and develop planners, increase their passion in that.
Okay, I thought you had more, Mr. Flores. I was listening. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Flores at this time? Councilmember Fusa.
Thank you for your application. You mentioned wanting to increase community engagement. In what ways can you do that that's not already being done?
So in my application and the number of meetings that I've attended, I've definitely kind of seen have not ever seen the chambers this full for a planning commission meeting. And I definitely think it is in talking to neighbors. It is in talking to friends. It is in talking to community to get them interested and excited, or try to get them to share the excitement or the passion I feel about planning, and have them listen in virtually, as we kind of now have that ability to. And as they find something that they're interested in, to kind of support that, for them to connect.
Vice Mayor?
Thanks for your application. And I just wanted to confirm, how many times have you applied for this?
This is my third time applying.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores, for your time and your application.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Kin Ji. Oh, you want to go then? Let's wait and have you go then if you're not doing the others. Okay. And, okay. Kin Ji is no longer applying for ERAC Planning Commission, and she's just going to apply for the Advisory Committee on Housing and Homelessness. So we will move on to Beth Hyatt. Is Beth Hyatt here? Okay, we don't see Beth Hyatt. Next, we have Dennis Park. Is Dennis Park here? Last call for Dennis Park. Okay, we're going to move on. The last applicant for the Planning Commission is Alexander Van Galen. Alexander Van Galen. Okay, he is not here. So we have completed all of the interviews for those commission applicants who are present. So at this time, anyone who wants to depart, please note that there is right here, if you came via a vehicle, you can get your parking validated right there at that wall. I'm going to give everyone a 2-minute break, and then do you want 5 minutes maybe?
That's fine. 2 minutes is
Okay,
fine.
2-minute break for anyone who wants to leave, and I'm going to go check the other room and see if our other committee members may be outside wanting to stroll in.
Thank you, City Clerk. And if you need a couple more, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We are now, oops, hold on one second. Okay. We are now going to move on to the Advisory Committee on Housing and Homelessness. And I will call all of the speakers in the order in which you will come up. First, we have Howard Edelman, Rachel Feldstein, Patrick Godinez, Kinkin G, Dominique King, and Dana Sales. So I will call Mr. Edelman first.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. I think that I can answer both parts of that question with just telling you about my experience. For the last 10 years, I've worked for the LA County Office of Education first as a foster youth services counselor for 9 years. And for the last year, I've worked as a field transition counselor. So for the first 2 years, I worked mainly with kids in foster care and kids who are experiencing housing issues. And for the last year, I've worked with kids who are on probation, kids transitioning from the camps and the halls. But over that entire time, whenever somebody would ask me, what do you do? I would always summarize it in one sentence, and that would be, I represent the educational rights of youth in foster care, homeless kids who are homeless, experiencing housing issues, and now kids who are on probation. But a bigger picture, I think if you were going to have a Venn diagram of issues that cause homelessness, I think you'd have the issue of the lack of housing, you'd have mental health issues, you'd have addiction. And I kind of work right in that sweet spot right there. And I think that's what this committee should do or does. Obviously, they advise the council. But I think a lot of what I do and a lot of what I think the committee should be doing is reaching out, making connections, collab, as the kids would say, working with other agencies, working with other cities, seeing what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, working with nonprofits, reaching out to the private sector, getting funding, obviously advocating for people who are experiencing housing issues. Again, this is what I've been doing for a really long time. And like I said, I think most of my focus has been on the educational side of it, but I realize as I applied for this position and as I've been doing a little more reading that it's actually a lot of what I've been doing is helping kids find housing, whether it's short-term residential treatment, whether it's just temporary housing, whether it's long-term housing, permanent housing. It's just been something that I have, I guess, I don't want to say secondarily, but I guess as a tangential thing to what I've been doing with the education. But I've also been working with caregivers, parents. A lot of times they're experiencing, being unhoused. We've gone down to Skid Row to find parents. A lot of times we can't find them. I've worked at DCFS office for 9 years. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories about social workers being in the office until 1 in the morning because they had to detain a child. Detain is what they call it at DCFS. Because they couldn't find placement for the night. And then the office was downtown by Staples Center, and they'd find a place out in Whittier. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, they'd be going out to Whittier to find a safe place for these kids to lay their head. And again, we work with the parents. A lot of times they have 16 seconds. I'll just leave it at that. But like I said, I think I'm eminently qualified for this position, and it's something that I've been doing. It's something I'm passionate about. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Edelman. Are there any questions from colleagues for Mr. Edelman? Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, thank you. I've seen you've been a resident of Culver City for a few years here. Do you have any thoughts, any feedback, any ideas on all the different programs that we have implemented over the last few years?
Well, interesting you should say that because I was just in preparation for this little presentation. I went over to Project Home Key, which is I guess, one of the bigger projects we've been working on, and I found it really difficult to gain access to it. I was trying to stop on Sepulveda Boulevard. I pulled into this motel. They said this isn't the place, it was next door. It seemed to be, there was a big fence around the property. You couldn't really stop again because there was a lot of traffic. But I did want to go over there and find out what the situation was, just to see how the levels were. I have, for a long time, people that say housing first. I've had, guess, a big issue, because working with the population that I work with, I know that we need to be investing more time and more money in mental health care and addiction, because putting somebody who has mental health issues and somebody who has addiction issues into housing might turn out well, but I also know that you could end up with a very bad situation. As far as any other current projects, I'm not really sure what else we've been doing. I know we're working with the Exodus, I believe it is. Yeah, we're working with Exodus. I'm not sure how that's been going, to be honest with you, but it seems, I will say this, I'll say a couple of things real quick. One, I did look up the minutes and the agenda of the last 5 months, and there have only been 2 meetings in the last 5 months. I know there have been 3 cancellations, so I don't know exactly what progress is being made. The second thing is, I have noticed, I will say this, that the homeless situation around this area, I live right down the street, and a little bit further down to 405, seems to have gotten better. I will say, I'm happy to say that. I'm not sure exactly what the cause of that is, but maybe something that the committee is doing has been working. So I hope if I do end up on the committee that I'm able to figure out what has been going on, how we can improve that, how we can make more connections. I know a lot of people. I work all over LA County. LACO covers 79 school districts. We have 1.8 million kids. I've worked with, I was just talking with a woman named Lorna Little. She owns St. Anne's. She doesn't know it. She's the CEO of St. Anne's Children's and Family Service up in Hollywood, and she does great work. I'm going to go up and visit her. So I know a lot of people, and I have a lot of connections. So hopefully I can bring that to the committee. I hope that wasn't too rambling an answer for your short question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Thank you for your application and your time.
Have a good day.
Okay, next up, we have Rachel Feldstein. Rachel Feldstein? No? Okay. Next, we have Patrick Godinez. And please correct me if I pronounced your name incorrectly.
Oh, yeah. Godinez, and thank you very much. Usually it's got an easy, so thank you so much. My name is Patrick Godinez. I graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in psychology and philosophy, concentrating in, at that time, they called it chemical dependency. I also graduated from Cal State Fullerton, and I have my general ed credential, and I also have my special ed credential, focusing on moderate to severe to profound, but also concentrated in students that had autistic-like behavior. After my 13-year experience at Pomona Unified, I joined up with my godfather, who was a pain specialist, anesthesia-based, who was actually the founder and director of the USC Pain Center at the Cancer Medical Center. During that time, I got a chance to work with him on developing programs called the Next Best Step, that focused on more of a multidisciplinary approach to addiction and substance use disorder. Upon the passing of my son, I kind of fell out of the grid, per se, and I had experience for the past 3 years down at the Verona wetlands, living out of my RV. So I do have that experience. What I understand about the position is that it has, first of all, has to come from the heart. It has to have that commitment and that dedication. Because as the gentleman said, with the cancellation, I know that and understand that there's a lot of frustration, involved. I understand that it's a very complex situation, out there. I also understand that there's a lot of healing, both on the residential side and also on the person that's living in the streets. I know that you have to kind of think out of the box, but still have evidence-based approach to any kind of solution, out there. In regards to housing, I understand that at least on the streets, that, no matter if it's at the Grand down in LA in a, room that usually costs $500 to $700 a night, to a tent, in Culver City, you have to approach that common, thread amongst the homeless, and that's a substance use disorder, because it kind of goes hand in hand, because, if you don't know that, that a person rather be on the streets well than dope sick in a room, and that's where the housing situation, I think, is, right now. We're really not approaching that substance use disorder, and what that would help and provide, for the board and the commission, and also, our fine police department, here, is less calls in regards to, substance use. I want to also, provide an evidence-based, approach, to the solution, and also, want Culver City to be on Spectrum News, and like I said before, kind of be a model of the things that are out there right now, but also want to provide strategies both long and short,
Thank
for
you. Your
some of the
time is
solutions
up.
that were provided before.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, no, stay for a bit. Are there any questions for Mr. Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned substance abuse issues. So do you have any thoughts of, and I don't know if you know what is being done and what's not being done and so on, but do you have any thoughts on what could be done on the city level that actually would help?
Yes, yes. And the term, the social, substance use, disorder, that could be, categorized in different areas, both, the fentanyl, to the crystal meth that's, on the streets. I really haven't got a chance to see what has gone in the way of, recovery, but y'all, did a fantastic job of providing, housing, solutions, because that's usually the first step. To answer your question, I really believe that strengthening your 5-step, the STEP program, the AAs, the CAs, some of the others, I'm not too sure, but a lot of those kind of free, solutions out there, that are also, evidence-based, because the first step is, stepping outside of yourself, asking for something other than yourself, for peace and grace. So, again, my first solution was strengthening that, that base of the anonymous programs that are out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor. Oh, Mr. Gutierrez, we got a few more. Thank you for your patience.
First, thank you for sharing your experiences. And I just had a question regarding, you mentioned that you live in an RV.
Yes.
I was curious if you've been approached by the county about their Pathway Home program.
Yes, as the mayor knows, I've been, kind of through it all, especially down at the wetlands. I was actually part of the Project Room Keen, and also was part of the stayed at the Grand. But a gentleman, I think, talked about not a lot of communication between all the lovely and caring service providers, out there. There seems to be so much different avenues that you could take that literally impossible, to navigate. But right now, as it stands, I'm with St. Joseph, and since I don't have access to the CSE, I really can't kind of, I don't want to say control, but be involved in my own, own future. So if I were to make any kind of recommendation, it would be, making this, the systems more interactive with the, with the participant to see where they are, to, ask those questions. But I could talk to you afterwards and see if that opportunity is open for me and would be the best solution. But in regards to the housing, I would think that more research and investigation in a less restrictive environment, for our folks out there would be a good way of keeping them, inside the room. But it all starts with substance use disorder.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, Mr. Cortines. Sorry, I know I keep making you come back and forth. I really don't have a question for you per se, but I'm really grateful that you continue to keep me updated with what's going on with you. And I don't know if I've been helpful or not, or staff has been able to be helpful, but I always say folks that are closest to the issue are closest to the solution. So even just tonight, you sharing some things that speak from your experience and answering colleagues' questions is incredibly valuable. I know probably comes at a great cost. So I'm grateful that you're willing to raise your hand and be a part of the process. And I'm grateful for your willingness to be here and support the city in trying to do our part.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, with this, committee, it starts from the heart. And it's so nice to know that at the mayor level and at the city level, that you as well comes from the heart first, which is really important.
Okay, you can sit now. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're going to call Kin G.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kin G, and I'm seeking reappointment to the Advisory Committee on Housing and Homelessness. I've been on this committee since 2020, and it has been an honor and a privilege to see a city launch a multimodal approach to solving homelessness successfully, starting with the $26.6 million state home key funds that created 76 units of emergency shelter and permanent housing. We also saw the opening of the Safe Sleep Wellness Village program on Virginia Avenue. In addition, we are continuing the motel master lease program as before. And as we all know, the mobile crisis team was launched in late February. And its main purpose is to address issues of addiction and behavioral medicine issues. Because of this multimodal approach, Culver City saw a drop in its homelessness count for the first time in 5 years. I've been doing homelessness count since 2019, except for this year because I was serving as my late husband's caregiver. But it was very reassuring to see that Culver City was the only incorporated city in LA County to see a drop in its homelessness count. As vice chair since November of 2023, we are looking forward to seeking funding for the safe parking program. That seems to be the last missing piece that we need to address, because we did see a lot of folks, more than 90% of the counts, raw counts, were attributable to folks in sleeping in the parked cars. So we'd like to address that with the council's help and funding, of course. So it would be a tremendous honor to serve on this committee for another 4-year term, and I would appreciate your reappointing me to this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Key. Any questions from colleagues? Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you, Kin. Just a quick clarification. So you have withdrawn your interest for the other...
For ERAC and Planning Committee,
Okay.
Commission, rather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you've done so far on the committee.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you for your application and for coming out, Ms. Key.
Our next applicant is Dominique King. Looking for Dominique King. Don't see her here, online, not online. So our next speaker is online. It's Dana Sales.
Dana, you've been unmuted. Go ahead.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to participate remotely tonight. I apologize that I'm not in town and I could not be there, but really appreciate this and sitting and listening to the fellow applicants. It's very daunting to do this. I think all of you know my history with the city. I was on the Planning Commission for 9 years. I chaired it. I have been very active in the city, and professionally, housing and homelessness are what I do for a living. I became really interested in this committee over the past year, sort of watching what I think are opportunities for the city to capitalize on some of the property that you own, for some of the funds that the city has, and for some of the immense interest from the private sector to come in and create solutions for this vast problem. I spend my days day in, day out professionally, and I sent you all a letter just in case I was not able to speak about this. Regarding current laws and policies, everything from understanding our needs for market rate housing and missing middle to our deep homelessness crisis and our need to take care of the unhoused population in all kinds of ways, from social services as well as physical dwellings. I've been involved in the only 2 affordable housing projects 100% to ever come through the city, and I am dramatically proud of them, all the way back to Tilden Terrace in 2007, to a Community Corp's project on Santa Monica, Community Corp of Santa Monica's project on Sepulveda, and really hoping to bring many more projects like this to the city and helping to facilitate them on the city side instead of on the private side. I know many of you all know my criteria. This is really an opportunity to give back in a very different way than I ever did on the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to speak to you this evening, not being able to be there. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of my goals, and I hope that you consider me for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Searles, for your application and your time. Are there any questions from colleagues for her? Okay. Councilmember Fuson.
Thank you for your application, Ms. Sales. What do you think about our current services that the city offers, and what direction would you like to see the committee go in?
It's a great question. So in terms of city services, I will be honest, I think that the city could do better. I think we have amazing private organizations in town like D.D. Hirsch, and we have resources, but as a city, I think our inclusivity could be better. I think we can do more to provide more of the budget towards this sector. This is a big problem. Personally, I don't know if many of you know, our home is on Bayona Creek. There for most of COVID were enormous encampments outside of our properties. My kids actually became friends with a couple of the people because they were frankly just having a hard time. And we knew that the city of Culver City had no jurisdiction because it was frankly County of LA's property on the bike path. And finding more opportunities where there can be more collaboration. There was always this divide on Venice Boulevard where you know that the north side was the city of LA and the south side was Culver. And on one side there were encampments, on the other side there weren't. So on that front, Culver is doing the doing their job. But I think that the number one thing that Culver City as a city can do is frankly produce its own housing, produce its own supportive housing for these people, provide its own services, and use the resources that we have to create opportunities to keep these people in the community for which they've chosen to want to stay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Sales, for your time this evening and for your application.
Thank you all.
Okay, that was our last speaker for the Advisory Committee on Housing and Homelessness. Up next, we have the BPAC, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. There are 4 positions available. There's a youth student member, a resident senior member, a resident member 1, and a business community member. I will read all of the names, and then when you come in, Campbell, present. I didn't see him in the other room, so I'm going to guess he is not present. Ann Easley. Yay.
Hi, everyone. I am applying for I didn't bring my glasses, a senior position, a resident position, or a parent position. I am a 30-year resident of Culver City. I work as a nurse practitioner, and in most of my free time, I've devoted hours to volunteering, initially with the school district, on the soccer fields with AYSO, and most recently with the Lindbergh Park Neighborhood Association. I am an avid cyclist in my free time as well. I have ridden all over Southern California and beyond and feel I have a very good sense of what makes a safe bike lane and what really contributes to biking safety. As part of this committee, I would look forward to getting people out of their cars. Walking and biking can be a great, cleaner alternative, and I hope to educate people to that fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Easley. Are there any questions from colleagues for Ms. Easley? Vice Mayor?
Hi. Thanks for your application. I saw you at the Lindbergh Park community meeting yesterday.
You did?
And there was a spirited conversation about the proposed mobility plan down Overland, and I'm just kind of curious to hear your perspective on, I think, meeting in the middle, and trying to find a place where, those who might not see opportunities for safety as it's a good thing versus, an opportunity to find a way for all of us to coexist.
Yes, and in fact, I was speaking with Mr. Puza earlier about some comments he made last night. I don't have a complete sense of what the bike lanes or bike and pedestrian lanes are going to look like for this project. I do think it's important when we talk about biking safety that we not punish drivers or try not to take away all the lanes and make life more difficult for people who have to drive. I hope there's a middle ground that's going to be reached with this project. Mr. Puza made a comment last night that really struck home with me in that we have to do something as far as contributing to cleaner air and taking care of our warming planet. And I am willing to do that. And I don't know if I appreciated that aspect of this project before last night, so thank you again for that. But I think it's an important step. And I'm not sure I answered your question if you had one, but.
I think that was a good response. Thank you.
Not seeing any additional questions. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
application and being here this evening.
Sorry, Valente Gomez. And he has applied for the youth/student member.
Hi. Firstly, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to allow me to speak here today. My name is Valenti Gomez. I'm a junior at Culver City High School, and I'm applying for the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee Youth and Student Member position. It's a tongue twister. What I understand this position to be is a representation of Culver City. I've learned through applying for this position that there are positions for almost every demographic, and I understand that I serve to show the perspective of the youth of the city, to show what it's like near the schools and near the popular youth areas. I'm attracted to this position for two main reasons. Firstly, I want to learn. I plan on majoring in civil engineering and want to pursue city planning. Along with helping the community, I hope to learn through real life issues and solutions. But most importantly, I want to help to improve the city by giving my perspective on the transportation of the youth or youth-involving residents. Living in multiple households, I've seen every way to get to school through every path. This experience has helped me learn the pros and cons of the street design of Culver City. Another reason I believe I would be fit for this position is because of my experience within the community. For 3 years, I've refined my public speaking skills through CPY in this very place, and have participated in community building or helping through the YMCA's Youth Advisory Council, where we organize fun activities and events for Culver City youth. Once again, I want to show my perspective on how we can improve the city streets through bikes and walking. Once again, thank you for this opportunity and allowing me to have this time to speak. I yield my time to the chair or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. You did wonderful. Do we have any comments or questions for Mr. Gomez? Vice Mayor? Mhm.
Thank you for your application, and you did great. And I just, knowing that we have several youth applicants here and only one seat available, I just want to put it out there. We haven't done this yet tonight, that there's a lot of applicants, and I'm really excited that we have so many. And we have difficult choices. So thank you for doing this. I know what I'm going to say next doesn't necessarily apply to you guys, because you only probably have one shot to do this, because you're going to be getting out of here soon, hopefully going to college or elsewhere. But I myself applied to 2 commissions and was turned down twice. But the more times you do apply, I take it into consideration. I think it's really great. And even if you don't get on, it's a great opportunity, a great learning experience, and I really appreciate all the students that are applying. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Appreciate your time coming out this evening.
Next speaker is Reese Johnson, and Reese is applying for a youth student member.
Hi, my name is Reese Johnson, and I'm a student of Culver City High School. I bike to school every day, which gives me a direct view of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure in Culver City. This really allows me to fulfill the position of a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, which, as I understand it, is to review and provide feedback on transit and mobility-related projects and plans. It also entails ensuring that these plans adequately support cyclists, pedestrians, and other needs, with a focus on providing feedback from the community. With all this in mind, I hope to help work towards a more inclusive city. As a student too young to get a driver's license, I bike and walk everywhere I go. So I really care about making our city better for people not in cars. I also understand how transportation developments heavily impact a city's character, as I have a passionate interest in city planning, and I like to learn about it in my free time and share my knowledge with those around me. And I'm looking to apply my knowledge to make Culver City better. I first learned about mobility developments in Culver City through the Better Overland and Safer Fox Hills project. And if I were appointed to this committee, I would focus on creating infrastructure that helps everyone, like how the Better Overland project created a much safer route next to a major thoroughfare.
All right, Mr. Johnson, thank you. You did great. Take a deep breath. You did it. All right. Do we have any questions for him? Vice Mayor?
Oh, thank you. It's great.
Oh, I thought you were getting ready. Yeah, I think you did wonderful. Doesn't look like colleagues have any questions. Appreciate you.
Next, we have Carolyn Lebuser. Pronounce your name incorrectly, I think, the entire time I know you. I'll get it. I'll get it.
I cannot see why I'm also applying to the Disability Committee. Anyway, good evening, Council, and I'm applying to both the Bicycle Committee and the Disability Committee, and my reasons for that are actually intertwined. I'm applying for the senior seat on the Bicycle Committee, but it's actually as a pedestrian. I haven't ridden a bike in about 5 years, and when I retired 3 years in particular, I started walking everywhere in this city, and I at least was walking many miles a day. And so I became very aware of the issues of traffic and how that intersects with the pedestrian perspective. And I think that that's really, I respect all the people on the committee who are bicycle riders, but as a senior pedestrian, I think it's really critical for our views to be appreciated as well. And that when you're walking in, I am hard of hearing, so my hearing aid's in, but it's worse than ever because I'll hear those motorized bikes coming up behind me, or also, well, now with the cars, the electric cars, but I have to be really aware of, and the intersections now, and traffic is worse than ever. I've been here, I should have mentioned this, I've been a resident of Culver City since 1986, so I've seen a lot of changes and increase in density, increase in traffic. Then also, when I think about the disability, I also currently with being disabled, walking, and I pay attention to all the issues that come up with that, of course, and a lot of our disabled are in fact seniors, so it's sort of an intersection there. And I see them out walking with their various mobility challenges. So I think that that pretty much sums it up in terms of my perspective, and I did put down the Disability Committee as my first choice, but I would be very happy with either of those positions. So I guess that wraps it up.
Thank you, Ms. Lebuser. Any questions from colleagues for Vice
I have
Mayor?
one question. Thank you for your application for both, Ms. Lebuser. I was just curious, I've had feedback from one current member on the Disability Advisory Committee, and in regard to the protected bike lanes, both on Venice and in downtown Culver City. And can you expound on, your feelings about how they may or may not create challenges for you as a senior, as a disabled, or mobility challenged individual?
Yes, in fact, I followed the entire discussion the other night about the Class 4 bike lanes and how that would probably take away parking or certainly change the dimensions in the I couldn't figure out exactly over here on Overland, but anytime you eliminate the ability of cars to park up, close to the curb, even if it's only for 10 minutes or whatever, that really creates an issue. And while I've been disabled, I've had my daughter, I couldn't even drive, so whether it's an Uber driver or my daughter or family member who was helping me and they would drive up close to the curb, I could see how that was very, very much an issue. And here, out here on Culver, when all those parking spaces went away, it didn't apply to me, but applied to a lot of my neighbors or other people that I knew, all of a sudden losing that those disabled spots, or even just the ability to pull up to the curb in a loading zone to let people on and off. And I really think that sometimes I think that the disabled are very much invisible, And so sometimes when we're thinking about these bicycles and stuff, we're not really paying attention to the invisible people in our community. And I also think that oftentimes the elderly tend to be more of I don't want to say ignored, but tend to be a little more invisible as well. So I really think that it's critical to listen to all those voices.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time and your application.
Okay, thank you.
Next speaker, Daniel Nanini. Is Daniel Nanini present? Online? No. Okay. Then the next speaker is Hunter Salem. And Hunter is for the youth seat.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor McMorrin, Vice Mayor O'Brien, and other honorable City Council members. I'm Hunter Salem, a junior from Culver City High School, applying for the youth representative on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. To answer your question posed above, I understand the committee to be integral to the legislative and institutional processes of the City Council. The role of CBCs, in my opinion, is the division of labor that designates the city affairs into 16 specialized bodies in order to promote community engagement and the democratization of our political institutions through the input of a diverse array of opinions, experience, and values, which hopefully streamlines council decisions to be holistic and community-oriented. I know some of my classmates are here, and I don't want to sound nerdy or uncool, but speaking on this note, I am a political junkie who is in love with the news. My most used app, unlike what you would assume would be TikTok or Instagram, is the Apple News app. I take Safe Haven and the editorials from the Apple News app. I watch C-SPAN in my free time. It's background TV when I study for my exams. So I understand the dynamics of a political institution, and it also, I think will confer that knowledge base and that experience that I've had to this role, which is honestly a dream for me because it's like the convergence of localized politics with like a political body. So I recognize that citizen involvement, the amplification of diverse voices, and the democratization of the city is vital, so I don't take this lightly. Collaboration, open-mindedness, knowledge, and commitment, all of which I possess, funneled into BPAC will have a rejuvenating upstream impact on the council and consequently the community. Similarly, my understanding of BPAC is that it's an advisory committee to focus on the implementation, development, and maintenance of infrastructure, along with overseeing public and community works relating to cyclists, walkers, and those who operate alternative modes of transportation. My familiarity with biking throughout the city to school and for recreation will lend a unique perspective and apply myself with practical knowledge that I can lend to the committee. As a biker, I want a city that prioritizes the implementation of infrastructure that values pedestrian safety, encourages green transportation, and reduces gridlock, while respecting the rights of drivers. I'm intent on expanding the Slow Streets Initiative, supporting the circulator, increasing public awareness and/or revitalizing the shared micromobility program, and increasing the robustness of bike lanes and utilizing the Ballona Creek as a backbone for cyclist travels throughout the city. Thank you.
Can we put his summary on the website for his, because that was very good, Mr. Salem.
Thank you.
You did great there. Any questions, Vice Mayor?
Thank you for that, Hunter. I saw the city clerk beaming with pride. So I know that you're interning in their office. I asked a question of the city clerk, and we don't quite know the answer yet, but there might be a conflict between the two if there was a choice between the two, and you won't offend the city clerk.
You won't offend me.
But which would it be?
I'm obviously split between my loyalties, and it's kind of an awkward situation because two of my prospective bosses could be in front of me. But I personally, I want a role. I want to be part of a committee and a political body that actually gets resources and documentation and they don't have direct influence, but they do influence the council through the recommendations and guidance. So I would prefer depart from the city clerk's office, which has been an incredible opportunity that I will take with me on my resume and the practical soft skills that I've learned from dealing with a workplace environment. So, yes. So, to answer your question, yes to BPAC.
Okay, thank you for that.
He makes decisions and choices. I like it. Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't fully get, do you both bike and walk to school, or you primarily
I
bike?
primarily bike.
Okay.
Traversing to my school through walking would be unfeasible because it's under multiple freeway overpasses and it's not in the Veterans Park area. So
No, I saw
bike.
your address, so yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're good. You're good. Thank you.
Okay, we're next going to call Miles Silverman. And he's applying for the resident member and the youth student member.
Yeah. Dear City Council, I'm applying for, as she said, both the resident member and the youth student member. As a resident of Culver City and a sophomore at Culver City High School and a part of the district for my entire life, I hope to share my opinion and the opinion of my neighbors and peers. I walk to school every single day and often bike around the city as I explore. This gives me firsthand experience using our walking and biking infrastructure. Moreover, as a part of the Metro Youth Board, I can seek more views and more collaborations between Metro and the city of Culver City. I'm a very social person and love to talk about how we can better the city through infrastructure. I hope to use the views that me and my peers possess to make Culver City a safer and more efficient city for all users. I understand the board seeks the community's input, and I'm willing to put in the time to have these discussions. I believe that Culver City can be safer for all by building safer infrastructure that makes all people more comfortable. Moreover, I hope to make the city more efficient by supporting infrastructure which ensures that all people can travel safely and in a timely manner. I appreciate your willingness to hear the youth voices. Thank you for listening to my ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Silverman, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments and your application. Vice Mayor Ryan.
Thanks, Miles. I just want to confirm, you're a sophomore. How old are you right now?
I'm 16.
I'm sorry?
16.
16, you are 16. Okay, great. And you also want to apply as a resident member. I know you're not projecting too, you can't project too far out, but what are your plans after graduation in a couple of years? Broadly.
I probably plan to come back to LA, honestly. I don't know if I'll be in Culver City. I love Culver City. I think it's an amazing city. I'd be happy to live here. So I'll definitely try, but I'm really not sure. But I'll definitely be back in LA.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your application. Appreciate it.
Next on the list, we have Andrew Steinhauser. We have Andrew Stanhauser. Okay. Next, we have Michelle Weiner. Do we have Michelle Weiner here?
She sent us an email. She won't.
Oh, she can't make it?
Yeah, she won't be.
Okay. All right, then that is the last of the BPAC applicants. Thank you all. Next up, we have the Disability Advisory Committee. There are 5 positions that are available. Some are incumbents, some are vacant or will be. We have, in this order, Marie Albertson, Jorge Alvarez, Sweelan Bryant, Jessica Burnett, Robin Langman, Shalana Leftridge, Lisette Pally, Seth Wise Board. So is Marie Albertson here? Yes, terrific. Thank you.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm Marie Albertson. I am a lifelong member and resident of Southern California. I grew up in Ladera Heights in Culver City. I have many connections to Culver City, including being a past president of Culver City Toastmasters, representing Culver City in my teens in the Miss Junior Black America pageant, and also having graduated from Antioch University, which is in Corporate Point here in Culver City. I have connections to the disability community. My husband for many years was in a wheelchair before he passed away. And I have also worked as a counselor with students with disabilities. So I'm an LPC, a licensed professional counselor. I've worked with kids age 5 through 20, and I've worked with kids on the autism spectrum as well as kids with severe emotional disturbances, SED kids. So I've worked as a therapist on a wraparound with intensive services team, treating kids with severe mental illnesses, as well as working with kids on the autism spectrum. So my version or my vision of what being on the advisory committee would mean is that it is a position to give advice and to really provide insight to not only the city council members, but also other boards and committees about people who are in our community with disabilities, as well as to increase the knowledge with the general community about the strengths, the needs, and the goals that that community might have. And then also just to make sure that people with disabilities in our community, just like all of us, have the most vibrant and inclusive experience that they can possibly in our city. So if I was to be appointed to the Disability Advisory Committee, I think my top 3 goals would be to increase awareness of resources that are in our community to stakeholders who might not realize it. So stakeholders like parents who might not know exactly how to go through the IEP process, or stakeholders like business people who might not know about incentives for hiring people with disabilities. I'd also like to see the feasibility of maybe creating a youth seat with this committee, because when I was working as a social worker and therapist, one of our mottos was nothing about me without me, and that's what we said for our kids. So I would like to see that as a possibility as well. So I'm open to questions.
I know you said 3 things, but you got cut off in the time. Do you want to just include the last one really quick?
Oh, and the last thing would be just to continue the good work that the board has already started. I looked through the past minutes, and there's some great things that have been happening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Albertson, for your time and your application. Do we have any questions from colleagues? Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, you have an interesting background. So, you know, my sort of reading on the Disability Advisory Committee has been that it primarily have focused over the years on land use issues, meaning, you know, how we move around when we are disabled for one reason or another. You bring an interesting aspect which deals with a different type of problems. So do you have any thoughts today what a city could do? Because a lot of what you talk about is sort of a county, and they have a lot of, you know, county organizations and so on. But we definitely have issues that you describe. So, and we have our mobile crisis team that deal with issues that you describe. So I was just wondering if you, since you have a professional background, you probably thought about this. So yes.
I have, and when we were doing the meet and greet, we talked a little bit in small groups about how many of the committees and boards seem to overlap and things are intertwined. So, for example, with Parks and Recreation, I think it would be great to create sensory areas for kids with autism spectrum disorder to be able to use the parks more fully. That's just one example, but just really working together, I think collaboratively on some things would be great.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I just have to say thank you. You were so thorough in your thoughtfulness and everything that you've experienced in your life, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Albertson, for your time and your application. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Jorge Alvarez. I don't see him. Suland Bryant. I don't see them. Jessica Burnett. I'm here. Great.
Happy Monday.
Happy
It's almost over. All right, so thank you for having me, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. I'm excited, so I am a local. Well, I was a local. I just recently moved, but I've been born and raised in the area all my life. I went to Culver Christian School, which is right next to DMV. I happened to move near Palms and traveled here, walked around Sony's. I'm a member of St. Augustine, so we did the Italian dinner with Sadie. And I've got roots here, and I'm really passionate about Culver City. The reason why I decided to apply for this position is because I have been volunteering and really involved in the persons with developmental or biological disabilities for, I'd say, a span of 10 to 15 years, periodically volunteering, being exposed, advocating. And recently, this past year, I've been very passionate and involved in working with West Side Regional Center, understanding the process of the self-determination program, and understanding how quiet the program is for those with developmental disabilities. When somebody has a disability and they're reliant on a family member or on a caregiver, it's important for them to have options that are not necessarily a medical model. This information is very closeted and quieted, and to have West Side Regional Center, which is literally behind Fox Hills, so close, that information needs to be shared. What I would bring to this particular position is the new approach that we're having as a state when it comes to supporting our population with developmental disabilities and those who identify as such. It's no longer a medical model where you're institutionalizing people or telling them that they're incapable, but you're taking those federal and state funds and you're allowing them to determine their particular future through person-centered planning and advocacy. Self-advocacy and support through third parties who are supporting their vision. With that position in mind, I know that Culver City in the past has been focused on land use, on accessibility, on being able to walk or ride down the street without tripping and falling over cracks. I know Culver City School District was focusing on really making sure that education was available. But parents and students need to also be aware that they do have the power to define their own future. And there are tools that are literally right around the corner that would enable them to at least have the opportunity to do so. Rather that's at graduation at 18, rather that's at 10, or rather that's at 35, where they feel that they're empowered to do so. So that's what I would do with this role, is to research all the changes, share that information, update all of you on what the desire is, and move from there.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. Really appreciate you being here, your application. Any questions to her from colleagues? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. It was just a pleasure talking with you beforehand, so thank you.
Absolutely. No questions?
We're
Thank you so much.
so thorough, no questions.
And thank you for your time and for your Monday.
For sure. Take good care.
Next, we have Robin Langman. Robin Langman, going once. Nope, she's not online. Thank you very much. Shalena Leftridge. Is Shalena with us tonight? Don't think so. She's not online. Okay. Lisette Pally. Lisette is not with us. And what about Seth Weisbord? He is not with us either. Okay, so that was
The Vice Mayor has a question, City Clerk, I apologize.
Sorry.
Hi, thanks, Jeremy. I'm just curious, I noted that that you noted that there's non-resident and resident. Is there a quota for non-resident and resident?
There is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have our Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee, and I'm going to take a few people out of order because I understand we're still in school, and we have some youth rep seats. And so I'm going to call Haley Garcia, if she's here. No? Okay. And then Benicio Mora Fattorini. Benicio? Yeah, come on down.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and Council members. My name is Benicio Mora Fattorini, and I'm applying for the youth position on the Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee. I understand this committee is to be an advisory body to the City Council and/or City Manager that reviews programs and activities to see which they will recommend to the city with a focus on programs, policies, and activities that promote positivity and provide equitable opportunities for all. I'm interested in this committee because I would like to better serve all members of my community, not just the community at my school. In the future, I'm planning on studying public health and public policy. I was recently named the Student School Board Member at Large for CCUSD, a position I will begin in the fall. I can assist the committee through work at CCUSD and the high school, where I can ask for student input and collect data of what problems are most apparent to the youth of Culver City and take recommendations on how they should be addressed. The work I have done in my internships and my different roles on the high school campus have trained me to be effective at assessing programs through surveys, making recommendations based on data from those surveys, and even practicing how to write new laws during my participation with youth in government for the last 3 years. I've also advocated for biliteracy by founding the club Hablemos at CCHS, which serves to elevate the Spanish language at the high school. Proposition 28 was passed by California voters last year, and its purpose is to make sure all students have access to the arts. As a Student Voices leader for Create California, an internship, I was selected as one of the 19 California high school students to participate in a year-long paid internship to learn how to advocate for equitable arts, education, and culturally responsive programming. I collaborated with another student to survey students at Culver City High School and to assess whether the curriculum is responsive to the diverse student body. Today, we presented that data to the superintendent, a CCUSD school board member, and the principal of CCHS. And my Visionary Leaders in Action Student Advisory Board internship, I work to increase access to information about the dangers of drug use to teenagers living on the West Side. I also recruit other students to participate in focus groups and workshops. All of this work would support my work with the Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee. I have experience assessing programs and can make recommendations based on data from surveys. This committee would help me gain experience in a professional group where I can see how real impactful decisions are made, and so that in the future, I can leverage that experience myself. Most importantly, I find collaboration with others to be particularly inspiring and would be an asset to working in the committee. Thank you. I yield my time to the chair. Questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mara Fattorini. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here and for your thoughtful application. Any questions or comments from colleagues? None here. You did a wonderful job. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Samia Bano. And she is online.
My name is Samia Bano, and I'm the current vice chair of Iraq. It's the first time I've been part of any city body, and it's been a great privilege and learning experience for me. Thanks so much for this opportunity. And in terms of what I've accomplished so far and what I'm looking forward to if I get to continue serving, first of all, I love helping create educational events for our community because I do believe that education is the foundation for enhancing equity and human relations, or indeed creating any kind of positive change. Some of the events I've helped organize include the Asian American Storytelling event in my first year, the Upside of Anger workshop last year, and this year, most recently, the Courageous Conversations workshop. One of the events I'm looking forward to helping with in the future is the Race Relations Dialogue. Our committee will be hosting on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Please save the date. And my second big focus on the committee has been on figuring out how we can improve our communication and outreach efforts. In this context, I'll mention that I'm on the Iraq Communications and Outreach Ad Hoc Subcommittee, as well as the Educational Materials Ad Hoc Subcommittee. And being on these subcommittees, I've learned a lot about the challenges that we can face with outreach and communications as a city body due to concerns related to liability for the city, being in compliance with the Brown Act, etc. And with this better understanding, I'm looking forward to coming up with and implementing even better solutions to outreach and communicate and educate our community members. One of the steps or solutions we have already been working on is, as a member of the ad hoc communications and outreach ad hoc subcommittee, we compiled a list of over 400 organizations in and around Culver City that we can reach out to help us with the promotion of our various initiatives and events, or to just reach out to them for support. So, for example, we helped to significantly increase the number of survey responses to the historical context study. So I will pause there and welcome any questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bano, and thank you for all of your support and, just your service in this really valuable committee. Really appreciate you listing off your contributions and very grateful for that. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Bano? Not seeing any. Thank you. Thank you for being here virtually and for your service.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Clara Ramos. Clara Ramos with us tonight. I am not seeing her, so I will call on Rebecca Rona Tuttle.
Greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. I'm asking that you reappoint me to the Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee. For the majority of my career as a writer, editor, and educator, I have worked to affect the types of change that members of the Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee are focused on today. I served enthusiastically on the Culver City Martin Luther King Planning Committee for 10 years. In 2018, my husband Rick and I spearheaded creation of the Human Relations Working Group for Culver City. And in 2020, the City Council voted to establish the Equity and Human Relations Advisory Committee. I have served on the committee for 4 years, nearly 4 years, first as chair and now as a member. I am known as enthusiastic, conscientious, hardworking, and collaborative. As chair, I encourage members to discuss a wide range of activities to meet our goals. In our 4 years, many ad hoc subcommittees were formed, and I served on quite a few. Among those ad hoc subcommittees have been, we created the first 2 Latino Heritage Month celebrations and the first Indigenous Peoples Day celebration, recruited Black storytellers for the city's first Juneteenth, recommended our programs for the coming fiscal years. That's one of our ad hoc subcommittees. Created a program on ageism, created a program entitled Courageous Conversations, created 2 resolutions regarding the labor representative, drafted statements about anti-Asian hatred and about anti-Semitism, marketed our Equity and Human Relations Award, evaluated nominations for that award, and recommended honorees. We created a new plan for drafting a land acknowledgement that we will share with the council later. And we continue to plan what we call diversity awareness projects to include a micro website with descriptions of meaningful sites, photos, and oral histories of residents, all to emphasize the diversity of our residents. I look forward to collaborating with fellow members and staff on addressing the various requests from City Council regarding equity. Very exciting. Continuing our work on the diversity awareness projects, drafting a revised land acknowledgement, creating materials to market our committee, producing an Indigenous Peoples Day celebration, and a Transgender Day of Remembrance commemoration, and more. People need to be seen, heard, and valued. I will continue to encourage our committee and our city to sponsor programs that tell Latinos, Black people, transgender people, and other people. Our city sees you, hears you, and values you. Please enable me to continue building on what we have begun. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ronatello. Very grateful for your leadership that has led to this committee, and I mean, y'all are so busy doing so many things. I look forward to the oral history project. I didn't hear about that yet. That sounds very interesting. So thank you for your service. Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question. Since you've been on the committee now for a while, since it started, you were part of actually bringing this to us. How do you see the cooperation with the Park and Recs Commission? Because you have a liaison person who goes there. So I'm wondering if that has produced something or if it's still sort of trying to find its role or...
Okay. Interestingly, there is an overlap between our committee and Parks and Rec, our committee and the Disabilities Committee. Okay, let me put it this way. Overlaps between our committee and most of the other committees and commissions. And honestly, it's been a bit frustrating because between the Brown Act and various protocols and procedures, we actually have not been allowed to communicate with the other entities. It's really a shame. I did speak, I happened to meet the new, I didn't do this on purpose, but I happened to meet the new Parks and Rec director, and I told him that I've always been interested in the possibility that in the parks we would have special equipment for children and adults with different kinds of disabilities. And he said, oh, as a matter of fact, that's an interest of mine, and we're going to be working on it. So I was very pleased to hear that. But as I mentioned, we, as a committee, could not actually go to them to suggest anything like that. So it would be wonderful to follow up with you and any other council members on this very concerning issue.
I think that, we are hitting our head into the Brown Act wall. So I guess the route is really from your committee staff to the council and then back out to whatever committees. But I was curious how it had worked, but you are confirming what I sort of been seeing, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Not seeing any other comments. Thank you for your application. Really appreciate it.
And thank you.
And last but not least, for the finance, oh, I'm sorry, for equity, is Carlos Valverde.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. I want to thank you for having given me the opportunity to participate in this body for 4 years. It's been definitely rewarding. Being a teacher at the high school and working with the city has been very interesting. It's been interesting work, and I just wanted to share that in this last 4 years, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot as being a member for 2 years of the ERAC and also now serving for 2 years as the chair. I've been in multiple ad hoc subcommittees, including the outreach and communications, the race relations, public events and budget, and the diversity awareness project that Member Rona has just mentioned. I was very instrumental in creating the first 2 Latino Heritage Month celebrations for the city of Culver City. I'm very proud of that. And participation in various community dialogues, one on ageism and race relations and civil discourse. Helped develop the Transgender Day of Remembrance for 2 years. Hope to do it again this year. We helped recognize also the Indigenous Peoples Day and develop and helped with the Asian American storytelling, including helping draft a statement on anti-Asian hate. I think one of the things that I'm really especially proud of is having been able to link more youth to ERAC and to more of the activities that we have. And some of the projects that we've had students participate through either contests and poetry and art from the high school. In the future, I hope to continue some of this work with community dialogues and more outreach, specifically to the Spanish-speaking population of our city and also youth. Being more responsive and being responsive to different issues that may arise throughout times. And I really would like to participate again in really taking off with the Diversity Awareness Project, which is the potential microsite that's going to include family histories and oral histories and just showing and preserving the diversity of our city and the history of our city. And so again, I hope to also engage more with maybe perhaps the historical context study that has recently been published and seeing where we can take that and further and maybe even create some more community dialogues from that. And so again, I want to thank you and I hope that I get an opportunity to stay in.
Thank you, Mr. Valverde, for your service and your contribution. Any questions from colleagues for our applicant? I'll just say, I think this is the most young people that we've ever had apply. I don't know if that's all because of you, but I'm sure you had a lot to do with it. So just thank you for encouraging young folks to be a part of the process and all that you do on this body. We deeply appreciate your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Finance Advisory Committee. I will read everyone's names and then we'll call you in that order. First up, we have Lee Austin, Mark Bauer, Jean Black, Jeffrey Cooper, Mary Haas, Keith Jones, Christopher Lyon, King Mulder, Vernon Rosado, Omer Sohail, Vikram Thakur, Liz Ustaris, and Gary Zeiss. So I know that Lee Austin is here.
Leave the finance to the very end, right?
No, there's 3 more.
Thank you for having me here tonight. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Lee Austin. I was appointed to this committee in January, and I apologize, I'm getting over a flu, so I'm kind of froggy. I was appointed to this position in January of this year. So I'm here tonight to ask to be put on a permanent appointment, which would take it for 4 years. There have only been a couple of meetings. We've had to cancel, I think, one in particular. So I feel like I'm barely getting my feet wet on what the committee is doing and what our potential is. And I think I also came in at the timing of the budgeting cycle that you were kind of past a lot of it. But we are working on, I'm on the ad hoc committee for affordable housing. We are putting together a forum for this summer to bring in some individuals who are working in community development to really talk and educate the Culver City community on really what's possible in the arena of affordable housing, what's been done in other cities around Southern California, around Los Angeles, and hopefully have a pretty vibrant conversation about how really what affordable housing is about, because I think there are a lot of, it's a very complicated field, particularly when you get into the financing side. My background is all in the housing industry, all in the finance side, not so much on the public side, more on private, but they intersect to some degree. So we're hoping that we can put together that program, which is going to be, just to get everyone starting to think and talk about what additional affordable housing opportunities are there in the city. So I hope that, I feel very much a novice, very much a newbie, just a couple of meetings under my belt, but I hope that you all agree to keep me on, because I really look forward to serving. And I have to say, sitting here tonight, I was kind of happy I was at the very end, because I got the opportunity to listen to all the people who are coming up and wanting to give up their time. And, we really are blessed. We are really a very, very lucky community to have such diversity of gender, of race, of age, of disability, not who just live here, but who really want to come forward and give to the community. And so for me, as someone who's new to get involved here, it's really been very heartwarming, and I love the kids. I mean, it's just awesome that so many came forward to give their time as well. So really, congratulations to all of you for creating this environment where people want to come forward and be involved. It's really a beautiful thing. So, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Austin. It's taken a lot, but we're turning a corner. It's feeling good. Any questions from colleagues? No. Councilmember Erickson?
Yeah, I know you've only been on for a couple of months, but I'm going through this one, and the rest of you can listen. I'm sure you're aware of that we are currently deficit spending in our city, right? The budget that we talked about just a couple of weeks ago that we're going to get finalized in mid-June looks like, $17, $18 million deficit, meaning we're using reserve. So everyone talks about we need to increase revenue. So I'm just throwing this out there. Do you have any thoughts on what that might be? Or is this something you think the Finance Advisory Committee could work with to help the council figuring out what revenue sources might be available for all the homeless housing issues that we have, or programs that we have started up?
Right. I think it would be a great topic for the committee to take up and work on. It's tricky, right? Because I guess in a perfect world, you would like to not increase the cost of living in Culver City for our residents. You would like to more significantly tax people who do not live in the city, but who are coming into the city to take advantage of the resources. and who are actually using the resources. And so I think finding that balance, but I think it's something that we should put our brains against. I don't have any brilliant ideas standing in front of you here today, but I think it's certainly something that we could be talking about and brainstorming.
Thank you.
Very, very appropriate task, I think, for the committee, in my opinion, in my 2 months' experience.
It will require at least 3 of us agreeing, so this is not, I'm not asking you.
Yeah, I understand.
It's
But
gonna-
I think it
yeah.
would be, I think it would be an appropriate and valuable involvement of the committee should the council decide you want us to go that direction. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your application and your time.
Next speaker is Mark Bauer.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark Bauer. I've been on the Finance Advisory Committee for 4 years. I am seeking to be reappointed to my second term. I am currently the vice chair, and we've done some pretty great things coming out of COVID when I started. I am the chair of the subcommittee of the Asset Inventory Subcommittee, and that we're looking toward the assets of the city, what real property that we own as a city, to make sure we're using it in the best way possible. And we're in the middle of kind of analyzing what's out there and what can be done better to help the bottom line of the city. So that's one project we're working on. I'm also working on the Affordable Housing Subcommittee. And by way of background, I grew up in Culver City. I'm a resident. Went to Elring Con, Culver Middle, Culver High, back here. Was on the board of Shoes for the Homeless with Councilman Vera for a while. And by professional background, I'm actually a public finance attorney. So my day job is working in municipal finance, specifically in the debt area. Culver City is fortunate not to have significant debt, so that is a good thing for the budget at this time. So, yeah, that's any questions from?
Thank you, Mr. Bauer, for your service and your application. Are there any questions from colleagues at this time? Seeing none, thank you for coming out and for sharing your experience.
Next, we have Jean Black. Is Jean Black here? I don't see her. I don't see Jeffrey Cooper. Is he online? No? Okay. Mary Haas. I don't see her. Keith Jones. Did not see him. Christopher Leon. I don't see them. King Mulder. Nope. Vernon Rosado. Omar Suhail. Vikram Thakur. There you are. Vikram.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me. My name is Vikram Thakur. Similar to Leigh Austin, I was elected onto this committee at the end of January, so we've only been through a few meetings. But it's been an absolute privilege just getting these insights, getting our feet wet, and understanding the city finances. I've been part of a couple of subcommittees. One, actually both of them address what council member just asked Leigh Austin about new pathways to generate revenue. So one of the subcommittees is asset inventory. We're trying to look at what the city actually owns And does it present itself with any opportunities for generating any revenue? And is it being used efficiently in the same time? And the second is a subcommittee for government efficiency. We're trying to look at innovations that employees might have on increasing efficiency in a way that not only does it make services better, but also will it actually extend itself to saving some money or generating some revenue at some point, or at least saving some revenue out there. So it's been an absolute privilege. It's been an exciting few months of learning a lot, and it's been very rewarding. I'm hoping to get reelected so I can actually serve a longer term and contribute a lot more in the coming years. So with that, I'll keep it short, and I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Thakur. Appreciate your service. Any questions for him at this time? Not seeing any. Thank you for being here and for your application.
Thank you.
Liz Ustaris is not here. Gary Zeiss.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. There are lots of interesting committees. The reason I picked this one is because I have, I think, skills that are very valuable to it. I'm an attorney. I work primarily in the area of procurement, both government and non-government. So I have a lot of experience in addressing, managing, renegotiating, and analyzing procurement acts. And there are two ways to have additional funds to work with. One is to raise revenue. The other is to spend efficiently and properly and to save where you can save, even under existing relationships, because they can be adjusted. My education is, I have a JD from Georgetown, an MBA from Western Governors University, and I'll be completing an MFA this summer. As I said, I work in procurement. And I think the goals of this committee, well, the stated goals are to spend efficiently, to look at the revenues we have and what the council's goals are. It's not the committee's job to make that determination. It's the council's job. It's the committee's job to effectuate that and effectuate that efficiently and properly. And that's where I see my the best value that I can add. From my perspective in dealing with suppliers, you need to treat them fairly, but you need to treat them thoroughly. And they need to understand that someone's watching, because otherwise it's very easy for suppliers to just kind of sort of send the bill in, it gets paid, and life goes on. And again, that is another way to increase funds that are available for other purposes that the city wants to do. So that's how I see the role, as helping with the efficiency of city government, helping with the expenditures that the council determines are appropriate, and doing that in the most efficient way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zeiss, for your application. Any questions for him at this time? Thank you for being here and your application.
That was the last applicant for Finance Advisory Committee. So we're going to move over to the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board. And we have Velma Harrison, Justin Lescoulis, and Diana Wheeler-Williams. So I'll call Velma Harrison first. Okay, I don't see Velma Harrison. Justin? I know he was here. Okay, there he is.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Good to see you. Good evening. I'm Justin, and I'd like to be reappointed to Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board because if anything I can offer is an enthusiasm for the process of mediation. And it's a very positive process where you bring two parties that don't agree with each other, usually a landlord and a tenant, they don't agree with each other, and you bring them together and you point them, and eventually you reach an agreement between them. And through this process, people come together and they like each other better than they understand each other, And it's very exciting for me to be on this board, to be part of that process. I was part of a mock mediation for our last meeting, and I was one of the mediators in that process, and I had a good time. It's something I really enjoy doing because it's a little bit analytical, it's a little bit about human, about people, and understanding where they're coming from, listening. So where I've come from, I've had a lot of experience doing mediation. People enjoy being part of the mediation process. And one of my first mediations that I ever did with Culver City on the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board, one of the party members liked the process so much that she decided to become a member of our board. She's still with us. And so she's part of it. Another, last meeting, we also had a special guest from a person that we mediated with, and he was enthusiastic about it too. He wanted to be part of it. So it's something that excites people. We want to get out the word more. That's part of my thing, is we want more people in the city to know about mediation. We want to create the possibility of, right now we're focused on rental increases. And we want to expand that so that we can bring people together and do mediations that are not just about rental increases. So somehow we want to expand the scope. And that's what we're talking about every time we meet. How do we open it up, get more opportunities for people to be part of this wonderful process that we do? And so I just want to endorse and support and encourage you to, the people that we have on the board now are good people. So and I really enjoy working with them. You get to know each other, we're a team, and so we're looking for more opportunities. So I want to promote mediation in Culver City more, and especially this board, because we have a lot of competent, understanding, and just people that really care and want to make the process work for this city. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Remind me how to pronounce your last name?
Lesculi.
Lesculi, appreciate that, Mr. Lesculi. Thank you for your service. Do we have any comments? Vice Mayor, and I'm going to step into the back, so I'm going to pass it to you. Second.
There we go. Thanks again. I really enjoyed your enthusiasm. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about the process with the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board. I'm curious, once a landlord and tenant decide to go into mediation, is the decision binding, or can they agree or disagree and not go forward with it?
Well, for the first 15 days, I believe, it's the landlord has to appear. If the tenant submits an application, I think they give them 15 days, and the landlord must appear. It's not binding, but it brings people together because it's so positive, usually.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And I like your ideas about expanding the role. I know that you don't necessarily get as many opportunities to mediate, and that could potentially open that up. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our last applicant for the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Board is also the first applicant for the new committee, the MLK Junior Celebration and Juneteenth Celebration Advisory Committee, and we have lots of people. So I will be calling Diana Wheeler-Williams first, if she's around. I do not see her. Okay. Okay, I will make the announcement one more time. And I will have Tiana go in and let everyone know we are up to the MLK Junior Celebration and Juneteenth Celebration Advisory Committee applicants portion. And I will be calling names. We have Diana Wheeler-Williams, Lorraine Allen, Jason Berry, Corinna Bibbins-McKeever, David Duval, Malik Flournoy-Hooker, Lisa Gordon-Kane, Christian Green, Latoya Hearns, Amber Kearney, Curtis Rayner, Art Sims, Charlie Taylor, Andrew Weiss, and Carissa Joy Smith. So we will start, I'm going to call for Diana Wheeler-Williams one more time. Okay. Next up, we have Lorraine Allen. Is Lorraine Allen here? No. Next up is Jason Berry. Yay!
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jason Berry. I actually reside in the city of Inglewood, but I have many close ties with Culver City. My children went to school here, graduating from Culver City High School. I am the president or master of the Culver City Fauché Masonic Lodge here in Culver City as well as I work for the city of Culver City in the Parks and Recreations Department. I am currently applying for a position on the Juneteenth and MLK Steering Committee. I have over 25 years of marketing, event production, and promotions. Where I'm from, I worked from various record labels, as well as magazines and many other entities back in New York, where I'm from. So I'm looking to bring a lot of that credibility and experience to this committee and to help build out the events and make sure that they are culturally significant and worthy of their stature. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Berry, for your application. Just a random quick question. What part of New York are you from?
Rochester, upstate.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. I'm originally from New Jersey, so I
Hi.
asked. Vice Mayor, you have your lineup?
Just quick, how long have you worked for PRCS?
3 months, actually.
Okay. How are you liking it?
Loving it.
Awesome. It's a great department. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, I think I understood what you said, because on the application you had an address, and when I looked up that address, that was the Masonic Lodge up on Venice. But you actually reside in Inglewood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your kids are connected into Culver City?
Yes, my kids went to Elrin Con as well as Culver City High, graduated 2018. And like I said, my connection with the lodge and the city, my other Culver City connections as well.
Thank you. You straightened out the question mark for me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Hi, Mayor, excuse me. I just wanted to point out, in terms of eligibility as per the council policy on commissions and boards and committees, let's see where it is. So the application shall be residents of the city unless it specifies that the appointments can be of non-residents and/or the appointment is a city employee specifically as a seat. So while for this body, the applicant can apply because he's a non-resident, it doesn't specify that it's a city employee seat. So with that, then he wouldn't qualify in terms of how the policy is set up currently.
Could we amend it? I don't know if we talked about city, I don't know if that came up. Is it explicitly stated in all of the other policies for all the other boards.
Yes, and the committee, board, and commission members, unless it's an employee seat, can't hold a paid office with the city, can't be a city employee unless it's an employee seat. The council could amend the makeup of the MLK and Juneteenth committee to allow for an employee seat.
Is there someone here from Parks that could speak to potentially I don't know of any potential conflict with that, or, you know what I'm saying? Is there like a?
I actually had a conversation with my, one of my supervisors prior to coming here, and this is Francisca Castilla, and she actually kind of brought this to my attention as well, but she did inform me if, for whatever reason, I didn't make the committee because of my status in Parks and Recs, I'd probably still be able to help out, so.
On the backhand side. Okay. Listen, as long as we can make something shake. Well, let's see. Let's revisit. Maybe we could come back. I don't know if this has never had a city seat prior, right? And then I know this is a new iteration. We didn't have Juneteenth before, but when it was just MLK, there wasn't a city seat.
And
I know
it
this
wasn't
was
a
ad
city,
hoc.
it wasn't a city committee.
But was there, do you know if there was ever city staff that served, even if it wasn't, not that we know of?
Not that, yeah.
Not that we know of on the body, but city staff did assist
Support, okay.
with the putting together of the event because it lives in that department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Barry, given what's going on, what are your thoughts at this time?
I'd appreciate the opportunity to serve and help out any way I can. If there can be an addendum made, I'd love to serve on the committee, and if not, I'll just kind of backdoor the situation and work through the Parks and Recs department.
Okay. Well,
I do appreciate you
Yeah.
trying to make a change for me. Thank you.
Because it would probably take, in terms of a timeline to revisit it, it would not be in time for the.
Well, the appointments occur on June 10th.
Right, so there wouldn't be time.
Wouldn't be time to, well, there could be, actually. We could bring it
Theoretically, you
back.
could have that item on the agenda
Right.
before the appointment
Right.
item. And
Is
handle
it
that way.
feasible for staff?
I think,
Well, maybe. It would
there
delay the
consent-
publishing of the agenda.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Is there consensus to discuss something like this, or? Dan is
I'm not
open to-
supporting that,
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Erickson.
because he's a city employee and he will work on this through the city. That's, clearly stated. So I think that's, for me, we shouldn't change these things because we have a very capable person, because this very capable person will most likely be used in Park and Recs, so he will be very active in this work anyway.
Yes, but the term is for how many years? 4?
I have to look it up, sorry.
I can look it up also. It says, the term length is 4 years, and the term limit, you can have 2 terms. So while we hope that you stay with the city of Culver City, we talk a lot about retention of our employees. If for any reason you do not, you still have an interest in serving, I think it would be worthwhile. I don't know what the scope of, but you want to serve outside of your capacity. I think that's that is the
overall.
goal. That is the intention. So it's not centered around your employment. So the vice mayor nodded his head. I don't know if there were any other support. Councilmember Puza. So maybe, and
Yes.
I apologize to put this stress on staff. I know we ask a lot of you.
Getting the agenda on Thursday.
Okay.
We have consensus from the mayor, the vice mayor, council members Vera and Puza.
All right, Mr. Barry,
Thank
we're
you
gonna
so
see what we
much.
can do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your willingness to serve despite where you work.
right, next speaker would be Corinna Bibbins McKeever.
It's actually Karina Bibbins McKeever, and there's a K missing from my name somewhere. It's a very long name. But hi, good evening. Nice to meet everyone. I really thought about the question, what do I understand this committee to mean, and what do I understand it to mean? And for me, I think it's a position that really works to advise and guide different members on ways to impact the community as it relates to Juneteenth and predominantly Black and Brown federal holidays. Also working in collaboration with local businesses and community leaders, as well as bringing just a fresh perspective to how we celebrate and communicate the importance of these holidays. And taking a step backwards, this for me is actually a dream come true. I initially went to college to be a politician. I lived in DC for 7 years. I thought that's where I was headed. That did not happen. However, I still have a love for community, politics, debate, all of the above. And instead of going into politics, I went into communications. So for the last 17 years, I've worked in PR agencies. And something that was really missing for me at PR agencies was that cultural red thread. I always made it my mission, whether or not our agencies had internal employee groups dedicated to helping disenfranchised employees or employees with disenfranchised backgrounds. I always made it my mission to make it one of my priorities outside of my client work. So despite working in some of the biggest PR agencies in the world, I have now sort of shifted my career to work for culture agencies. And so for the last 7 years or so, and for the last, I think, how long have I lived here? 11 years that I've now lived in Mar Vista, I have been working for agencies that focus specifically on various different cultural ethnicity groups and how we can advance their causes for big brands. So that's anyone from McDonald's to Jack in the Box to Michelob Ultra. I've really run the gamut of diving deep into what it means to really be cultural, to have passion for the culture, what it means to be about the culture. And I really think that with all of that, in addition to that, we've done events, we've handled crises upon crises. There's been a lot of things in my, again, past 17 years that I think would really make this a really great opportunity for me and to work alongside people in the community. And lastly, I do want to just give a shout out to Wallace Nash, who actually encouraged me to apply for this position. It was just by chance that I came across her recently. My mom is a lifelong educator. She works at USC, Keck School of Medicine, and we've always been just very deep into the culture, marching anywhere from Take Back the Night to marching in the streets when Obama became president twice. So this is near and dear to my heart. And yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Ms. Bibbins McKeever. Appreciate your application. Any questions from colleagues for her?
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Fuson.
Thanks for your application. I'm curious, you mentioned just incorporating businesses.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas about how you do that and some of the community organizations as well?
Yeah, I think I've been really impressed, at least for the last few years, at the Leimert Park, not only the Juneteenth, but MLK March that they have every year. There's a lot of small businesses in that area that I think it would behoove us to partner both some of the Culver City businesses with and the businesses in that area. I think that creating a joint effort in a city that's right next to ours that is predominantly African American would behoove us to do, just from a grassroots effort.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All good?
Yeah, you're good. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you
Thank
staying and your application.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have David Duvall.
Hi.
Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview. I guess my first order of business would be to thank you and obviously be an advisor and make recommendations to the City Council, to the Department of Recreations, and to community services in terms of what would be the best way to go forward with events that are to commemorate Martin Luther King Day and as well as Juneteenth celebration. If I am chosen, I believe that helping out and being a volunteer or just developing a way to make the event successful is the most important thing that I can offer. I have a tenure of experience that begins almost 40 years ago when I worked at the New York State Legislature and worked with the senators and things like that. So I think that every event is different, but the thing that makes it the same is the fact that if the persons or the people that are working to produce the event, if they have a sense of humility and a sense of a collaborative effort to work with everyone as a team. So my onlook for the future for what's happening with the events here in Culver City is to try to use my experience, which is also in film and in music. I'm a music producer. I have a nonprofit company called We Are One Productions, and we do music live events for middle school and high school students, bring live music back into the schools. And I think what's important, even in that respect, in comparison, is to, again, use the platform to educate, to bring people, especially community leaders and community members, into the fold of what the event is all about. And I think I do that very, very well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Duvall. Appreciate your application and your time. Are there any questions for him at this time?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Duvall, I'm so sorry. Did you say how you learned of this opportunity? Did you say how you learned of this opportunity? Did I miss that?
You know, I just saw it online.
You saw it online. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here in your application.
Next speaker is Malik Flournoy Hooker. I don't see them. Lisa Gordon Kane.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to participate and to be allowed to come before you, council members, vice mayor, and Culver City's mayor. I'm not going to be giving eye contact. I'm going to read from here so I don't forget anything.
That's okay.
I was a previous resident of Culver City, to date myself, back in the 1980s through 1990s. I actually lived in Tara Hill and sold. My God, I wish I hadn't have. I went back east to New York for family reasons and replanted myself back here in Los Angeles in 2002, and I am a Santa Monica resident. However, I've been teaching psychology at West Los Angeles College since 2002, and I'm presently still there. And I'm very interested in Culver City overall. As you saw tonight, some of the wonderful high school students that Culver City High School produces, and our West LA students. And becoming involved civically, I'm always telling them to do so. Basically, I'm modeling that to them by participating on these committees. I'm very interested, as someone who is not retiring, but I'm rewiring, that I'm interested because I have started a social enterprise myself where I am conducting, as a psychologist, something known as the Compassion Charrettes. And basically what that is to create safe spaces for positive activism for caregivers and change agents. And I think with events such as MLK and Juneteenth, it's very important that these celebratory events bridge not only diversity, but mental health. And how that's done within these community activities and venues, like working with the Actors Gang, or even Apple's DNA, which has been around for 35 years, actually, their Diversity Network Association, the Kirk Douglas Theater, the Wyndham Museum, the Veterans, and the Senior Center, all the things that I've been very involved in over the years here in Culver City, getting my students involved so that they realize that they don't have to leave their community to have the excitement or to be a part of different kinds of activities, because there's a lot going on right here in their own backyard. I want to add that I'm also, and the reason I found out about this, because I am a member of the Blackbird co-working space here off of Schaefer in Culver City, and they said that the mayor might be needing some assistance, so I said, well, let me come and see, since I'm always telling my students to be involved. Oh, I didn't realize my time was up. Any questions for me?
Thank you so much, Ms. Gordon King, for coming out and sharing your experience and your story with us. Any questions from colleagues for Ms. Gordon King? So thank you. I'm very happy to hear that the Blackbird House advertisement yielded some responses, and grateful that you're supporting and a part of that community. And thank you for all you do for our young people at West LA. Thank you
My
for your
pleasure.
application.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Christian Green, and he'll be followed by Latoya Hearns.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and to our council members. My name is Christian Green. MLK started off with a quote. It says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." I believe in this political climate that we have the opportunity to show Culver City as an amazing city, as it already has, but there's always room for improvement is my motto. I was just a little bit about myself. I'm a community college professor, a community organizer, youth pastor, motivational speaker, author, and foster youth advocate. I was born into a prison cell to an incarcerated mother, and a father I didn't know. I'm a former first-generation former foster youth, non-traditional graduate. I graduated spring 2016 from UCLA with my bachelor's from sociology, and then I graduated with my master's from UCLA. So they like to call me a double Bruin. And go Bruins. I also currently serve as a national ambassador for the U.S. Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Coalition. I serve as a policy and advocacy director for Sanctuary of Hope, which serves our TAY youth population and transitional age youth, 16 to 24. So I'm very determined and committed to doing youth transformational work. As of fall of 2023, I've been hired on as the first African-American Studies professors over here at West LA College, tenure track, and I've been serving there to help build the department curriculum and what other opportunity would that be for us to join in collaboration with our city here and do even more work. So I'm helping out with the Black Scholars United program, the foster youth program, and also just building out the department itself. I sit on the board of CASA LA, which is the court-appointed special advocates, where we look at serving our system-impacted young adults, as well as I sit on the UCLA Black Alumni Board. To the question at hand, what I understand about this position is to curate, to create, to advance, to strengthen, to build, to empower, and uplift everyone in Culver City, but also on a local, state, and federal level. In this advisory role, I will address from more of a healing and racial equity perspective, but also from the lens of intersectionalities. As a Black, queer, and former foster youth myself, I want to add that lens to the work that I produce. My goal is to build more with the college, our students, parents, and families, and emerging connections with Black Scholars United Programming and the people of Culver City. I'm a servant, and at my heart, I just you want to hear, advise, but also implement. Everyone has great ideas, but can they produce? And so, as the great sociologist Whitney Houston said, I want to see the receipts, and I can definitely do that. So June 15th, we are doing National Equity Weekend Experience in DC, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, that was good. Go ahead, give it up.
You
That
know
was a
what
good one. Thank you, Professor Green,
Not a problem.
for being here, and that was very excellent.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from colleagues? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Hey, thank you so much for that.
problem.
I just want to confirm, you are teaching at West LA?
Yes, sir.
And you're not shown here as a non-resident, so you are a resident?
So that's I think I clicked the wrong button. I'm not a resident just yet. I'm currently looking at places to live out here. However, I'm at West LA.
I just want to
Yes,
check.
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Any other questions? Yes?
Thanks for your application and your work at West LA College. Is that going to be could you just talk about the work, the ways that you want to work with the youth? Because I think it's so important and an aspect that we really need to work on in Culver City.
Yeah.
Much more.
Absolutely. So one is through coalition building. We have a youth advisory board with Sanctuary of Hope, which is a nonprofit. So coming from that lens and having them at the center of the conversations, I think would be great. So us having them doing listening sessions or doing town halls with them, having them lead it, I think that'd be great. And then involving them on to, I don't know, just whether it's volunteer work or whether it's through social media programming or whatnot. So just making sure that they are there too with us in that process.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Vice Mayor, your light's still on, but you're good.
Oh, sorry.
I
No,
just-
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Professor Green, for
Not a
being
problem.
here and for your application.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Next, we have Latoya Hearns, followed by Amber Kearney.
Good afternoon, Mayor and, Councilman. As a 13-year Culver City resident and EBO board member, I am deeply invested in the community's growth and cultural heritage. My background in strategic planning, major academic and healthcare events, particularly during COVID pandemic, has equipped me with unique skills and insights that I am eager to bring to the MLK and Juneteenth Advisory Committee. During the pandemic, I played a key role in planning and executing events for healthcare professionals and community residents, ensuring safety and inclusivity while celebrating invaluable contributions. I have experience coordinating health system-wide physician retreats to address burnout, work-life balance, and compassionate care. Additionally, I started the first Women's History Month programming for female researchers to highlight their accomplishments at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Through Research Day, news articles highlighting our female researchers, and a leadership breakfast allowing access to senior leaders. This experience has honed my abilities in logistics, coordinating, and community engagement skills that are innovative and meaningful programming, celebrating and commemorating MLK and Juneteenth. I am passionate about fostering a more inclusive and aware community where the values of equality, justice, and historical recognition are celebrated and upheld. Serving on this advisory committee would allow me to contribute to honoring the legacies of Dr. King and the Juneteenth holiday, ensuring their messages resonate within the Culver City and beyond. I look forward to the opportunity to collaborate with fellow committee members and to leverage my event planning experience and enhance the community's cultural landscape. Thank you. I yield my time to questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hearns, for your application, for your patience this evening. Are there any comments or questions for Ms. Hearns? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you for your time. I appreciated the opportunity to chat with you a little in the meet and greet area, so I appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you.
Latoya, can I just confirm, are you a resident now or?
I'm a current Culver City resident for the last 13 years.
Okay, great. I just want to update and make sure that's.
I live down the street.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Love to hear it.
Next up, we have Amber Kearney.
Good evening. We're almost there.
Almost there.
My name is Amber Kearney, and I have 11 years experience in product management. And basically what that means is in my day job, I work with cross-functional teams to deliver impactful experiences, which I hope to bring here. I moved to the area two years ago, and while I don't have a zip code of Culver City, I do live right at the intersection of Fox Hills and Westchester, so the Howard Hughes area. And this committee is important to me because it's an opportunity to write history in the local area while telling the history of our country in the correct way, in the fabric of our country. And my ultimate goal is to spark some sort of interest that everyone could walk away from whatever programs we launch to want to learn more on their own time, whether that be young children or older people as well. So when I consider this position, what I think of it is doing is collaborating with a group of people who are like-minded and have an interest in MLK and making sure his legacy is upheld, as well as Juneteenth and the history of that incident as well, in 3 primary areas: planning, delivery, and retrospective, which is like feedback. So with planning, I hope to bring my experience in tech and bring that to some of this program and execution of events, and use a human-centered design process. So really think about what do our residents, what do the community want to see, what do they want to hear, what's the survey data look like. Then with delivery, work on time, and I think this is where project management can come in to help. So work on time and within budget to deliver the best experience. And then lastly, getting more feedback, because the only way we improve is to learn what worked and what didn't work and how we implement that in the future. So what I personally want to help with and bring to this committee is the opportunity to deliver a safe, emphasis on safe, uplifting, memorable, and thought-provoking experience for Culver City for both MLK and Juneteenth. And that's geared toward families, residents, and visitors of all ages. Personally, for my background, since I have a little time, I have Southern roots. I was born and raised in North Carolina. I attended a historically black college university, Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and obtained my MBA and undergraduate degrees there. I moved to the Washington, D.C. area afterward, which is I recently moved here from there 2 years ago. And as I mentioned, while I'm not a Culver City resident, I would love to be one day and purchase a home here so that my family can plant roots here. I think that with my unique experiences, plus coupled with my professional experience, I would be a great asset to this team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kearney, for your application and for your patience this evening. Are there any questions for her application?
Thank you.
None at this time. Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate it.
Next, we have Curtis Rayner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your patience and your time that you put in tonight and all during the year. My name is Curtis Rayner, and I'm a resident of the Fox Hills neighborhood. I have been a student of American history for more than 50 years, and my focus has been the very pervasive role that race has played in our country's history. And a special focus of mine has been the life and work of Martin Luther King Jr. And, you know, he was as I think we all know, but maybe don't appreciate enough, he was a very remarkable man and a very courageous man. And his vision and his analysis of the issues that face our society, I think, are as true and as needed today as they were 60 years ago. What my hope in my interest and my goal in applying to be a part of this committee would be, would be to put my historical background and perspective, to have that serve as an aid to the discernment of the committee. And from a very personal reason, hearing some of these people who will likely be on the committee, they seem to be really, really neat people, so I wouldn't mind working with them. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rayner, for your patience and your application. Do folks have colleagues have any questions for Mr. Rayner? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Next, we have Art Sims. Is Art Sims here? No. Charlie Taylor. Andrew Weiss.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, and Vice Mayor. I'm Andrew Weiss. I've been a resident of Culver City for a year. Before that, I was a 20-year resident of Playa del Rey, during which time I was a volunteer umpire at the Little League on a volunteer basis, and it was the joy of my life being out with the kids, but I also enjoyed being a volunteer and being active in the community. One of my passions is civil rights, and I'd like to speak candidly about a little bit about race in America. Culver City is not a very diverse city. In the 2020 census, it was about 47% white and about 8% black. And we've all heard the phrase preaching to the choir. Well, I think a white voice preaching to white people about the importance of MLK and Juneteenth is important. I'm very passionate about this subject, and I think I can communicate that because I still see among white people, I see disdain of the importance of these holidays. Specifically, people will say, oh, the bank is closed on Monday for Martin Luther King Day, and I see the disdain in their face, and I don't like it. I'm an activist. Much of my travel in the U.S. I've been to Birmingham, Montgomery, Selma. I've been to Memphis to the Lorraine Motel. I've been to Galveston, where Juneteenth originated. And I think I can be an effective voice. And I don't mean to say that I'm a white savior, which is, you've seen that theme in movies. I just feel like I can communicate. I like talking. I'm passionate about this subject. I've been to Little Rock. I've been to the courthouse where Emmett Till's murderers were tried. So this is in my heart. And I would very much like to serve. And I've got a very flexible schedule. I'm an attorney. I have my own practice. I work at home, and I work from 7 to noon every day. So I've got a lot of time I could devote to this. And I've got about 20 seconds left, so I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rice, for your time and your patience this evening. Any questions from colleagues? I have one. I appreciate you lifting up the importance of, there are so many studies that speak to how folks don't always hear issues about race when it's from, well, I don't want to say, well, sometimes white folks don't hear the issue as it pertains to race if they're not hearing it from another white person. There's a lot of material and study around that. So if folks think I'm making it up, you can look it up and check it. But how do you think you might start to particularly in the context of these really celebratory events now and, you know, their MLK sales. I don't know if we've gotten to Juneteenth sales. I'm sure there will be some eventually, but the commercialization and the flattening of these holidays, how do you think you approach sort of having these conversations with neighbors who you still might see have some disdain or might not understand, like, why it's so important to lift up the education or the importance or the reverence for these kind of holidays? I'm just curious since you've sort of brought it into the room, so I just wanted to engage you a bit on that.
I think people might be able to appreciate the fact that these two celebrations lift up everybody in this country. Martin Luther King was a champion of America. Juneteenth, which is it's so tragic because it took so long for people to know that they were free. This is part of who we are, no matter what our color. So I think I could. I don't mean I need to preach to people, but I think I could just convince them from my own passion that these holidays lift everybody up. They make the country a lot better when people are working together.
All right, Mr. Weiss, thank you for taking the time to answer that. I don't see any lights from my colleagues, so thank you for your time this evening.
I have one more speaker left, and that is Carissa Joy Smith.
Really quick, Ms. Smith, before you go, I don't see her information in my package.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She will let you know.
All right, wonderful.
Well, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Chair, City Council, and residents of Culver City. You do not have your applicant yet because it is in process. It was submitted, but you all will hopefully have it in the coming days. But I still wanted to come here and greet you all and formally present myself. I know I had a chance to see some of y'all, especially when we had my former boss come to Culver City, who was President Joe Biden. So it's good to connect with you all in this way. I am Carissa Joy Smith. I'm proud to call Culver City my home since moving here from DC. In response to your prompt, the Juneteenth and MLK Junior Celebratory Advisory Committee aims to ensure that Culver City engages in a meaningful, community-oriented way, fostering citywide participation in key events that honor these significant holidays in our nation's history. The primary role of this body is to engage, impact, and educate. I plan to utilize my experience in government and stakeholder relations to successfully advance the committee's objectives. As a proud alumna of a historically black college and university, Bowie State to be exact, a former staffer on Capitol Hill and senatorial and congressional offices, and a former appointee at the White House, I have a proven track record of fostering meaningful relationships that generate positive outcomes for community outreach. I am confident in my ability to engage effectively with residents and community groups. Additionally, my background in social responsibility initiatives will help identify organizations where the commission can have a significant impact. I currently serve on the LA Economic Development Corporation Board, the Valley Industry Commerce Association Board, and I'm a proud member of BizFed and their PAC. Here are the top areas where I plan to contribute. So I'm gonna go through this really quickly. First, the prioritized partnerships with local organizations. I would collaborate with local nonprofits, community groups, and other stakeholders to leverage their expertise and networks. Second, the development of performance and metrics. I'm really into data. I work to develop and share performance metrics to evaluate the effectiveness of our engagement strategies and progress towards our goal as a committee. Third, accessibility and inclusion is always in my heart, so I will ensure that all engagement activities are accessible to everyone. I will gather informed feedback from residents, attendees, and participants to create more inclusive events and programs. As I wrap up here, serving on this commission is actually deeply personal for me. My great uncle, Tazell, rest in peace, was from the Delta of Mississippi and migrated here in the 1970s with his wife, Mary, with the dream of making the heart of Screenland their home. They settled in Buckingham condos, bringing their lived experiences of leaving a fractured state with only their red clay skin that holds generations of history. Thanks to their courage to call Culver City home, I too have found my home here and look forward to being a part of this commission with a passion for the community's progress, equity, and engagement. Lastly, thank you all for your public service. Being a public servant is not easy, but it's worth it when you're contributing to change for tomorrow. So thank you all for being here and all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, since we don't have your paperwork, when did you move to Culver City, and what is your current employment?
Sure. Great question. I actually just crossed over the 1-year mark. I came here May 15th. It was right after Mother's Day of last year. I remember kissing my mom goodbye in DC. And my current employment is I work as vice president over at Fox Corp in Century City. And I serve doing external affairs and public policy. And I'm in their counsel's office.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to read your whole presentation. Thank you.
It's good to see you. Like I said, I know I had a chance to see some of y'all at the great library event.
Vice Mayor?
Also, well, contract employee at Fox, so.
Oh, great.
Great stuff. This is more of a global commentary, I'm going to say. And I know not everyone's here that just applied to this, but this is about, oh my God. I mean, there's 9 positions, and I really am going to struggle winnowing it down to the 9 people. I'm really impressed by everyone that has applied, and not just applied, but spoken. So thank you to you, and thank you to everyone else here who applied and shared your stories. It's been really neat. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
You have another question. Councilmember Erickson.
No, it's more a point of order, so I'm not going to ask a question of the.
Oh, okay. Is there any more questions for Ms. Smith? Okay, thank you so much for your application and your time this evening. Point of order from Councilmember Erickson.
Yeah, it's for city clerk.
Oh, for the
So we have
city clerk.
9 positions. Are we going to stagger them so we're going to have like 4 or 5, 2 years, and the other one? Because
Yes,
it would be good for us to know that when we start shuffling
Yes.
around here.
We will have a grid of the different positions and the years on the body to be able to make it work out well. I know the bylaws have stated that, and it's the easiest way to make it work.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have to just check and make sure we know which is going to be which, like seat 1 may be a 4-year.
Yeah.
Seat 2 may be a 3-year.
Okay, but we will get that grid, so
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you will get her application.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, we hope.
Okay, we'll be on the lookout for it. Thank
Okay,
you, City Clerk.
That is the end of the MLK Junior. We do have the LAX Area Advisory Committee. I'm not sure that anyone is here for that.
Let's
Oh,
try
there you
just in
are.
case.
Come on down.
We weren't going to forget about you. You're going to run the names no matter what.
Quite frankly, an impossible act to follow.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, my name's Adam Moore. I've been a Culver City resident since June 2021. I've actually travelled through LAX as a business traveller for the last 10 or 15 years, and very fortunate to be able to say as an LA resident the last 6 years. So I think it's given me a unique insight into what goes into getting travellers through the airport, easing their path to arriving in LA, and then also what does it mean to be a resident living with LA. I can see the planes landing, I can tell when they're taking off over the water or they're taking off over land. It changes the noise in my home and my neighbours. So I'm very interested to be part of the LAX Area Advisory Committee for that reason. I know the work involves reviewing operations proposals from LAX, giving input, and then making recommendations back to the council, the mayor, and other committees.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moore. Are there any questions for him or comments? Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you. Have you talked to, there is 2 applicants here, Kevin Clouden and Lucinio Nocera. They've been on this committee for, I don't know, 10 years or more. So if you haven't, I would recommend you talk to them as soon as possible, because they've been chair of this committee and they've been doing a lot of things. So, and I'm sure staff can help you with the contact information, so you get even more insight into what this is. And then I hope I see you here next week.
That would be fantastic. I would love to reach out to them. Thank you very much.
Any additional feedback or questions for Mr. Moore? Thank you so much for hanging into the very end, Mr. Moore. We appreciate your application.
Thank you very much for being here today.
And Adam?
Do we want to?
We'll be in touch with you tomorrow. We'll send you an email to let you know their information. Okay?
Do we want to just make sure that none of the other applicants are online?
I don't think anyone is left.
It's just us chickens?
Just us chickens. Well, that's
All
not
right.
true. Samia is still here and Lindsay Carlson is still here, but
No
They're
one
done.
on the committee?
no one.
No one trying to be on the committee? Okay. All right. Well, with that, we don't need a motion, correct?
Correct.
All right. We're going to pick back up with public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have any comments?
We have Denise Neal.
Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and community at large. I am Denise Neal, and I am here because I'm seeking information on the follow-up of our Olympics Committee meeting that we had about a week and a half or so ago. I need data. I don't know if there's any in print form yet. And I also need information on a timeline and the strategies where we plan on meeting all of our benchmarks, because we have a limited time to put everything in place, not only for the Olympics, but for FIFA, the Super Bowl, and I'm finding out we also have NBA All-Stars, and we need to be able to monetize those things, those events as a municipality. And the global strategist in Pennsylvania is still working for us to get all of our power players together to do a Zoom to strategically figure out how we're going to set up the coffers and get the money allocated and possibly earmarked for different purposes that we have as a city 2 years before our anticipated budget deficit. So I'd like to know if anybody can provide me with any information and some possible subsequent meeting dates. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we know when the next meeting is, or can colleagues or staff be in touch with Ms. Neal in regards to
Mayor?
what she, Vice Mayor?
I don't believe we've scheduled our next meeting yet, but I know staff is working on compiling all the, input that we received at that, the big meeting. And once that gets out, I'm sure they're going to make it public, and I'll let you know when we have our next subcommittee meeting.
Thank you. Are there any additional public comments, City Clerk?
There are none.
Okay. I do have a quick item as we're going to items from members or members' requested agendas. I do, so probably should have raised this during A1, but someone did reach out to me asking about, apparently they are not a citizen, but they've lived in Culver City for, 20 plus years, and expressed, really wanted to apply for something, but it said like she couldn't apply because she wasn't a citizen. So I thought that was not the case, but I just wanted to lift that. If it is, can we examine that? Because we do have folks who are part of the community who are here, so there should be a way for folks to be able to contribute. I don't know if we need to agendize that or if that's already been a conversation. But I'm curious about having a conversation about that.
We have, it's regarding the citizens and allowing non-citizens to be on bodies. Whether or not that's true, it's been discussed, or I don't know.
We'll have to look at that issue. I know at one point there was pending litigation, and I can't recall if that was resolved, but it has been on our radar. So I don't know. I don't think there's been any significant development, or we probably would have reported it. But let us double check, the clerk and I, and we'll get back to the full council on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you. Appreciate you all looking into that. Are there any other items or requests? Any requests to adjourn in memory or just adjourn in general? Which I'm open to either.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vera, second from Councilmember Puza to adjourn. Please vote. The time is 9:49.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we are adjourned.
City Clerk, do I need to sign anything?
You do. I brought some
Okay.
things for you to sign.
All right.